That's right. What we talking about today? Why did they get it so wrong? Welcome to another episode of Objective Deconstruction. Myself, Mr. Nice Guy. The word nice, Saint spelled backwards. We got brother Afro Agnostics and Student X in the house. And we're going to talk about some things. Now, we're a little bit late because we were having a spirited discussion about something that's kind of not totally related, but maybe we'll freestyle putting that in at the end. But the bottom line is, we don't have any strict format here. We're just gonna get to it. So what's going on with you, Student X? Thank you for joining us today. I know you were doing your things and got some things taken care of, but thank you for joining the show, brother. What's going on with you, sir?
Oh man, I'm glad that this show exists because this is like the mutant politics as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? These days, so thank you, brothers, for keeping the keeping things going, and what a great topic to talk about.
That's what's up, brother. Afro Agnostics. What's up?
Oh, what's up, man? I just want to say something about my background. I just feel like it hasn't been acknowledged. It needs to be acknowledged. So you got, you know what I'm saying? You got One for All, brand Nubian album, It Takes a Nation, Public Enemy, Pure Poverty right here.
Yeah, Dead Prez.
That's Poor Righteous Teachers.
Hey, man. Student X, can you please say the name of that group? You say the name of that group.
That's Poor Righteous Teachers.
Dead Prez right there. That's my album.
This is where I know where people are at. Like a lot of people, if you don't know Dead Prez, which is arguably the most politically or the highest level of conscious rap in hip hop, I'm like, where were you? You was not doing no work in the early 2000s. In 2003, you didn't know. Yeah, we brought them to our school that we put together too. School of Social Justice and Community Development came out twice.
You're not gonna speak on the X Clan.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
To the East Blackwords, we got Latifah.
You sissies.
Great Lord Ramsey, and what's the producer? 45 King.
Yes, 45 King. That's what's
up.
And
a Blowout Comb, Diggable. That was their best album to me, hands down.
So that's what's up. So, all right. So that's your background. And we got the dojo in the background for Mr. Student X. And with me, you got me appropriating the symbol for the saint. Hopefully I don't get sued for that, but that's what's up. So I put it, and I got it flipped backwards, just like how, nice as saint spell backwards. But anyways, so let's get it on,
I didn't think that. Okay. I went into this.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you know what? That was one of my names, as an MC, you come up with all different type of names. And I used to write a lot of rhymes at night, watching like the Saint, the Simon Templar. So that was why, that was that big connection to that. So that was a big thing for me. So, anyway, so back onto the discussion. What we really want to talk about today is why did they get it so wrong? Now, Student X has been pounding the table for big voices like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, because they have become big proponents in issues that we've long been proponents for. Hey, this brother, I remember this comedian. I apologize that I don't have his name. Very funny comedian, and he's like, Tucker Carlson is the face of I guess of defending Gaza in America. And it was kind of a crazy thing for him to say, but he was just saying it just because of his audience is so vast. And he's like, look, I understand that he's Johnny come lately and all this other stuff, but if he's going to do this work for me, let him cook. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's kind of a position that the Student X is taking on these cats. And, what we're talking about is, why did they get it so wrong that they're just now coming to this? You know what I'm saying? So, and really is really about, I should let Afro Agnostic set the table. You're the one who established it, what this is going to be. Why did you come up? What did you really want to say? Or what did you really want to ask?
Okay, yeah. So be clear, this is not intended. It was not intended to be I told you so, or that the left or this demographic beat that demographic or that political force to the point. It's really kind of like when you lose a game or you lose some type of competitive match in sports. You don't just say we lost. You come together and you debrief and you try to figure out why you lost. Because if you don't examine that, then you're doomed to repeat those same mistakes in the future. And you learn from your mistakes. So the whole idea is not to, for instance, give accolades to those who arrived late. But if you're going to give accolades, you need to give it to those who arrived early. But you need to also look at, man, how do they think? What led them to this conclusion 10 years earlier? And, why didn't I see it? Because if you don't do that, then you're about to make, what other assessments do you have wrong, political assessments? What are your premises that you're operating from? So you want to do some self-examination, not just say, or just finally get it right, because at the same time, that's acknowledging that you were wrong. Why were you wrong? We need to examine that.
Now, one big thing that happened that we observed, I'm gonna let you speak on Student X, but there's one thing I want to talk about. When we talked about Trump and his position is, he's saying that, look, I'm the president of peace. There were no wars that happened on my shift, and that there ain't gonna be wars. We'll everything. The day I come in, 24 hours, Ukraine's gonna be done. You know what I'm saying? All this other stuff and blah, blah, blah. And, there was a lot of pushback with the Dems because the Dems were in power and they were not happy with the Dems, assistance to Israel in light of the terrible things that were happening in Gaza to the Gazan citizens and stuff like that. And what I remember arguing on Mutant Politics, and I wasn't the only one, I was saying that, look, you can fault the Democrats for whatever, how you feel that they handle it, whatever. But to sit here and think that for some reason that Trump is going to be a better ally to Gaza was never having your feet on the ground. This dude was always going to be a greater friend to Israel. He was always going to be a greater friend to Netanyahu in particular. And what I'm saying is that the fallout that you see was very predictable. Now, Student X, I just want to let you speak, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I jumped in front of you.
For sure. Well, first and foremost, I never made the argument at all that Trump was going to be different from the Democrats. In fact, I concurred that, he was at least the same, if not worse, in terms of how I felt, his position would be. In fact, I cited it as to why I did not vote for him. It was essentially the Zionist ties, and it was just it was too much. At the end of the day, for me to even go that way. And so, so that's where that is. But in regards to, I would say, others, I think that it was never a part of the base that that they thought that Trump was going to be anti-Israel, that they thought Trump was going to be America first, that was the whole thing, because remember at that time, it still was unpopular, to, be on Israel like we are today. It wasn't 4 years when we had this election, about a year or so ago. Israel was not in the same limelight as they are today. It's far worse today than it was then. So then Israel wasn't even for the base of MAGA, for regular MAGA, if you will. That never was really a big issue for them because they felt and thought that Trump would be America first over Israel, over everything else. And then also they thought he would be anti-war, things of that nature, because that's what he was promoting. That's what he was saying.
How did they get it so wrong?
Yeah. So like,
okay.
Personally, you can say that you've never felt that way about Trump, but we know that some of the people that you listen to and whose point of views you promote, like Candace Owens, were 100% behind Trump.
Absolutely.
Nick Fuentes was 100% MAGA.
He's not one of my guys, but
all the people that you kind of promote. So they, why did they have this view? Why did they get it so wrong? And also this I think as you were talking, I think it partly goes back to education and also to, because, primarily where we get our framework of history from is primarily through, the education system. And then in addition to the outside forces, where do we get the information from? I think is a big question too, because like this whole notion that they were behind Trump because Trump was America first. I don't know if anyone who advocates that knows the history of America first. I mean, I think that's a very important history to know. If you look at the history of America first, it was a racist movement. It was an anti-immigrant movement, and it was anti-Jewish. It was anti-Semitic. So the whole notion of American first is tied into the same values of the Ku Klux Klan. That's what America first really means. So when I heard people saying this, and some black people were, I thought it was going to be American first. My mind is like, like that. The whole phrase is racist in and of itself. So, and the whole notion of American first is kind of based on like, gooey ideas that don't match up with United States history. The United States has always been an imperialist, terrorist power abroad. So, I mean, what do you mean inward go into, you're not, there's been territorial expansion since 1776. The United States was 1/10 of the size that it is today. It continuously expanded. This has been the mission of the United States from day one. So there's like this big gap or ignorance in history that I think is part of the reason. And we see that Trump's base are not educated. And I think, like, if I can wrap up with this and we can talk some more about this, but 70% of, there's a statistical thing that just blows my mind. 70% of educated white women didn't vote for Trump. 70% of uneducated white men voted for Trump. So that contrast, I think, tells you a lot about education as a factor.
I would start. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Benaj.
No. I wanted you to have the opportunity to counter, or at least to add on to that, because go ahead.
First of all, when I'm talking about this subject, I'm sorry.
I mean, I meant to say because of that particular contrast, education and gender. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I think I could cover all of it, but first I'm gonna start with the American first part of it. So when I'm speaking, I'm not gonna necessarily speak from my perspective. I'm gonna right now be speaking more towards this MAGA base that we're talking about. Like you said, some of the people, the leaders of that movement, who were pro-Trump, no longer pro-Trump, are with Trump at all, in many circumstances, what happened, and so, and then were they aware of the American first, the foundation of it originally and whatnot? The majority of the people who were writing for Trump and rather had Trump, when they were hearing the term America first, they're hearing that we're going to put American citizens first. They weren't thinking about or even had any knowledge of the history per se. Any of us who have any type of understanding of history of the foundation of America, okay, we know, that there was like injustices that exist.
Not to cut you off, but this can unpack that a little bit. What do you think? Because I thought that was a good point. When they thought American first, what do you think they thought? In their mind.
He was explaining. I think he was explaining.
Yeah. It was just, they were saying that we're going to put American citizens and the interests of America first before anything else.
I'm sorry. I mean, what in their mind was put first prior to this? Like, obviously, they felt something else was being prioritized. Do you have an idea what that was? What did they think that was?
Yeah, they felt it was via special interest. So special interest, of course, there's different hats of special interest. So whether you start off with, I would say from the MAGA movement, surprisingly, on this last run, is that they became more conscious of wars, and aggressions that, that were costing America a lot of money. What I mean by a lot of money is that, for example, like just in this past December, right? We being America is every 3 months, another $1 trillion was being added on to the debt. Right. So then, you don't have to be, educated. Right. I reject the term of someone having to go to college to be educated, so I'll start right there as far as that goes. But, it doesn't take, a mathematician to know that, there is a million and a trillion, So it would literally take, if we were to take to put it in a perspective, this $1 trillion that's occurring every 3 months. If I were to give $1 million every single day,
it's a thousand. It's a
thousand. Yeah,
it's a thousand millions. Yeah. It's not a million.
You said 1,000 million.
1,000 billion.
No, it's 1,000 billion. It is a million.
No, it's what I said.
Yes, a million.
You know what I mean? Mr. Educated around here. You know what I mean? It's a million. It's a million millions in a trillion.
Million.
You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is that it would take you, if you gave $1 million every single day for the next million days, you will reach $1 trillion. So that amount of money has been reoccurring just this past December. Every 3 months, we were adding that to the national debt. So American is like, wait a minute, this is not prioritizing America. You know what I mean? Why are we running up this debt? So when they start looking at, the expenses, then the first thing that you're going to notice on the ledger is just the tremendous amount of money that we have going to the defense budget. Right, a tremendous amount of money, So already, right off the bat, what I loved about this run of the base, if you will, of MAGA was they were already taking more of not necessarily an anti-war approach, but they definitely were not pro interventions, if it wasn't in the best interest of America, which I saw as being a positive. Okay, and so so that is just one example when you start talking about America first, what people were looking for, is a priority.
You're talking about the military budget, not defense budget. You're just talking about the military, because when you said defense, I thought MAGA believed in having a strong military and stuff like that. But you're just talking about wasting it on international
interventions, that were not in the best interest of America. And guess who led the charge into introducing that into this basis consciousness? That would be one Tucker Carlson, okay, who was the only anti-war voice that was even on the mainstream media for years, and he happened to be on Fox News, and which I'm sorry,
that's not true. That
is true. Tucker Carlson. I'm not talking about going back to when he was on CNN with Crossfire. I'm saying before he
what name did you say? What name did you say? Afro agnostics? I thought you offered up another name.
Other anti-war, anti-imperialist.
No, mainstream media.
On Fox?
Mainstream
media.
Fox is mainstream media. You had Mark Lamont Hill.
You can name it on MSNBC.
Mark Lamont Hill.
One reason Mark Lamont Hill was his, that led to his I guess being fired or being released from CNN was because of his anti-imperialist position on Gaza and on the Middle East.
But you said CNN. He was talking about Fox. He wasn't.
I'm talking about period. Saying, all of them. And then Mark Lamont Hill was never a regular host or personality.
Wait a second. You saying that nobody on any of the mainstream media was saying that they weren't against war?
There was no anti-war voice on mainstream media other than Tucker Carlson, at the time of his firing.
So Bernie Sanders was over there. So Bernie Sanders was talking about
network.
War. So Bernie Sanders was talking about war. So Bernie Sanders was advocating for war.
Did you major media personality? A regular person that hosts these very shows on CNN, MSNBC, you name it. All those personalities that have shows, none of them were anti-war except for Tucker Carlson.
Well, let's just say this. We know Mehdi was anti-war. He's on NBC. What's his name? Mehdi Hassan. Mehdi Hassan. We know he was anti-war. But let's just say that Tucker is that one lonely voice, and that's mainly due to what? Because of the right.
My only point was he was the one that introduced that consciousness to that base. That's my point.
Base. To his base.
To the base we're talking about, man.
Well, and we agree with that. We agree with
that. Fox News base. I got you.
Yeah. That we totally agree with. I just was shocked when you said that he introduced.
No, but I said it back then. He was the only one. That's why.
No.
I like
the confusion. That's not the confusion. I said the confusion was when you said and you actually agreed with it, that you're saying that it on all mainstream media. That's why it kind of blew my mind. Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I didn't hear a lot. When I was watching CNN, I didn't hear. Wait, no. When I was watching CNN, I didn't hear a lot of people advocating for war. That wasn't my record. My regular recollection.
So
Bro,
I
every
misconstrued it. I
time I watch
misconstrued it.
CNN, that's exactly what you have in there. They're the ones who first started hiring retired generals and whatnot, to their staff to justify the positions of their sponsors, which is primarily a pro-war, military-industrial, advertising, pharmaceutical base. You know what I mean? That's the industry. You know what I mean? So yeah, CNN, pro-war, all those major news institutions, they get a lot of funding from that direction. So of course, you know what I mean? That's what you are.
I haven't
you know
made them.
I
haven't heard them make pro-war arguments.
All right, all the time. If you're not conscious of it, then you will miss it.
I've heard them. I've actually heard them make arguments quite to the contrary. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that it's we're kind of getting off track.
It is permissible, because it is permissible in mainstream media to make anti-war comments, but it's not as permissible to be anti-imperialist, which are two different things.
So that's something different. Yeah, that's something different.
Oh yeah.
They kind of pick and choose and selectively say this war is righteous or this war is a just war.
Absolutely,
this war is not. But I think that's a liberal position, and that's also some of the position of just mainstream right wing in general. There's no just war by the United States. There's no war that's benefiting the oppressed people within. That's going to benefit the American Indians or the Black people or the Puerto Ricans and things like that. So when you look at the United States,
how do you feel if
the world is on that tip. It's not just us.
How do you feel if someone says, "What about the Civil War?" How do you respond to that?
Well, what about the civil? Like in terms of
you said that as far as interest, because some people might argue that the Civil War was a war that actually benefited Black people.
Yeah, that was a war. That war benefited Black people, and that war was not a war of territorial expansion, though. Mm. That war was actually, it was kind of in a way a war to kind of continue the continuation of the military territorial expansion in a unified way, in a more effective way, because the whole tie between the 13 colonies, the Articles of Confederation, was based on the possibility of slave rebellions and the taking of Indian land. That is the basis of what formed the federal government. It's called the fiscal military state. You can look it up. Which is the largest industry right away for the United States became guns, became military. Because how else can you expand? Just think about those 13 colonies, 13 states today. How do you expand from that? That's 1776, close to 1800, 25 years from 1800. You expand all the way to the West Coast. You know how much land that is? How many acres and millions of acres? That's over 700, 800 wars with the Native Americans. Over 800 wars.
Trump aspires to bring Canada and Greenland into the fold. Just think how much bigger that land would get, if that were to be achieved.
Yeah.
It's a different conflict, though, compared to what Afro's talking about, in the indigenous that were here already.
No, it's not different, because you have to realize that the United States political jurisdiction, it ended with the 13 colonies. That land outside of that was foreign land, populated by foreign people. I'm saying the United States has constant, and this is the lack, I think, of the education, the political.
When they got here, it was already a government here in America. It wasn't just a bunch of, like how they teach us about Africa. It was just a bunch of people running around with bones in their noses, swinging from trees. There was a government already, people already here in the Americas. Had a functioning government. People were here.
I'm saying,
they don't teach that in the schools.
Yeah, I agree, but they don't. A lot of people, when they think, as an example of education, when they think of the United States geographically, what comes to mind is the logo map. That's why so many people are unaware that Puerto Rico is actually under jurisdiction of the United States. Alaska, where actually they can't even identify Alaska on the map. Hawaii, the Wake Islands, the American Samoa, the United States Virgin Islands. And, these places are considered territories. And people just say it, but it's a territory. People on the right wing, they have this perspective, and liberals and some people on the left. The place where you have this perspective the least would be on the left. But they never think, what is a territory? Why do the United States have territories? Why did the Philippines win independence from the United States in 1950, which was once a United States territory? Why is the United States in Cuba? Why is it in Puerto Rico? Why is it the relationship, the Monroe Doctrine? This global power that the United States has become. Why, the military bases. Why does this exist? Because the United States right now is a hidden empire. Trump is exposing it as an empire because he's getting back to old rogue ways, which is essentially what the United States has always does and always has done. But they kind of dress it up and make it look pretty. And a lot of people look at this and say, we need to fight for Americans first. We need to all this shit is American imperialism through and through. So
but that's he's doing what he's doing what he said he would do about that stuff though. That's not a surprise.
He's just more explicit because one reason he's less sophisticated. I talk with students all the time. Some students that are not that bright, their lives are not that bright. You can see right through them. They're inconsistent. They don't make sense. And that's the same with Trump. Prior, there was a type of presidential diplomacy where you glossed over things. We're going to intervene in this country. We're going to do, you abided by international norms a little bit, guardrails a little bit. But Trump is saying, no, we're rogue imperialists. We don't abide by any of these rules. Even when we made them up, we violate the ones we made up. The United States is responsible for creating the UN. Now it's getting rid of it. You know what I'm saying? Because, and people think like Peg Hegseth, it's supposed to be the Department of Defense, not the Department of War. No, you're wrong. The original name was the Department of War. They changed it to the Department of Defense to make it look like they're not on the offense. They're not preemptive, but they are. The imperialists have to be. Not saying the United States as imperialist power is part of the problem with the right, in short, in one sentence.
So, but with respect to the topic,
not something that just happened with Israel.
But with respect to the topic, we want to talk about what they got wrong because I feel like that's what they got right about Trump. I mean, if Trump were to succeed in making Canada and Greenland part of America, to me, he would be true to putting America first. I mean, some examples of things that he did, which was true to that position.
Yeah, the MAGA base would not be mad at that move, as long as it did not require any type of war or regression. That takes place in the loss of American lives and cost American money.
I want to give you some super props for making that analogy, making that point when you distinguish America First, the concept that they were dealing with, versus America First, the movement that actually wore that that name, previously. Because to me, I want to juxtapose that with the whole Black Lives Matter movement. You had the Black Lives Matter movement, which was the movement, the sentiment, the concept, and then you had that organization that those particular people incorporated. So there was always a distinction between that. And I would say that with respect to certain things, when he's saying that, okay, we're no longer offer aid to this country, we're no longer going to do that. That is actually being true to the concept that you talk about, as far as you're spending this money. So now you're no longer spending that money on that. By definition, that's staying in the American coffers. That's an example of him basically doing what he said he was going to do.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Well, again, back on the spirit of, and not that we left it, but on the spirit of where did MAGA get this wrong, and linking it to education. The education aspect of it, was lacking in terms of, people thought they knew. They didn't realize, how deep the game goes. And then now what this is like, MAGA or white folks, a ninja wake up moment. You know what I'm saying? In a lot of ways, because, this wasn't, they've been being lied to as well. They're as much as, many of us that were paying us to hear it, but they've been victims. They've been lied to, they've been led astray, they've been hoodwinked, they were being taught fallacies and things that were untrue and inconsistent. And so now, with this new world coming about, we're seeing like people like Majority, was that MJG they call her, Majority Taylor Greene, whatever they call her, she is coming after Trump so hard. No one saw that during the election, because she was one of the biggest advocates. Of course, now we go to the State of the Union and they're trying to prop up Erica Kirk, you know what I mean, and attack Candace Owens, you know, simultaneously at the State of the Union, you know, during the you know, during the speech, you know, so, you know, but where people got it wrong is that they didn't know. They got misled, and now they're coming into, you know, a moment of truth, you know what I mean, you know, and dealing with the reality of this situation, you know, and here we are, and this is great.
But I think
this is what we need: transparency and truth.
It's not quite enough though, because you need to examine, acknowledge, not why you got it wrong. I think we kind of touch the surface of that, but why did they get it right?
How did they
what demographic got it the most right, in the sense that their perception of Trump and in particular? And I think that is Black women. And part of the problem is that a lot of people on the conservatives in general, Black conservatives too specifically, do not listen to Black women. And I think, and I can explain that in a lot of different ways. Like literally, they don't read books by Black women. They're not familiar with arguments by Black, political Black women, their political analysis by some of the pundits that are out there. And they don't, that's in general, they don't listen to Black women. That's a problem. I think that's part of the solution to not repeating these type of mistakes.
I mean, I'm not going to go as far as to say that, the solution, to, understanding reality is through the lens of a Black woman, in general, but in regards, to Trump, I mean, a lot of people, if we were to do this election again, the majority of people are not doing anything different, given even where we're at right now, because the reality of it was when this election came up, the Democrats had us on a path to where this moment where we're at now, even we were actually further along. They were, when I say they, military preppers and planners, it's been revealed now. I was saying it back then, but they had it over a 50% likelihood of a nuclear war erupting, and this was during the transition of Trump coming into power, the waning days of the Democrats.
How are we not further down the path, considering he actually dropped a bomb on Iran?
Yeah, that's easy, because that right there is what you call a negotiated deal that Trump and Iran end up working out, during that period of time. I told you back then that was for
Are they negotiating now?
No, we're at war. We were at war for those 12 days, but then, like I said, they had to call off that war, because, Israel was not prepared for what Iran had. And so they begged the United States government to stop.
You said those two next. You said that if that election of 2024 were to actually happen now,
people would still be, I think you would have a less enthusiastic base. I mean, I think the turnout would be less, So
let's go back. Let's reduplicate that if it were to happen now. The demographic that was most against Trump and the demographic that was most for Trump. When you look at the demographic that was most against Trump, again, it was Black women. So if we would have followed that directive, that mandate, that analysis, we would be less down the war. I mean,
because
how are they doing? How are they doing the special elections? How are they doing the special elections right now? How do you think they're going to do in the midterms?
Who?
But the point. But hold on, let me just say the point.
We're going different about 5 different questions. But like I said, going back to the Black woman, thing is that the reasons why Black women oppose Trump, are not the same reasons why conservatives, MAGA, and others who voted for Trump are opposing Trump now today. It's not the same reasons.
And I agree with you. And that's part of the problem. That's what I'm saying. So we need to examine why this group, they're under, why this group, this demographic, Black women, did not support Trump. Okay, for one, they didn't support Trump because they feel that the Democratic Party does more than the Republican
No, stop right there. That's not the main reason. That's not the main reson. The number one reason why they didn't
Black women. Let me just say this.
This is the reason, according to exit polls and other surveys. That's facts. I'm saying I'm not saying this. According to surveys. The number one reason was because of the party.
Number one reason cited is what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah,
number one reason cited.
We don't know anything about this. We're not.
I'm gonna disagree with it right off the bat. That's not the number one reason. We know the number one reason.
No, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna. I know some things in general other than that, but
boy, I'm very fascinated to what you think we know the reason.
Yeah, you know it too. But Afro know it too. The number one reason, the same reason why I voted for Obama. You know, it was a brother. You know what I'm saying? It was a brother. You know what I mean? I had a sister that was in my site in the Green Party, Anthony McKinney. The fact that I knew going third party was going to be a protest vote.
That's an insult.
I went for Obama because he was a brother. I want to get it. And so when you have a white man over a sister, of course the sisters are already going to be like that on the sister, especially when they identify on the left. That's why. That's the main reason.
That's insulting. That's insulting.
Even taking any research.
Listen.
It's the soldier. Come on, man.
Student X.
Bro, we gotta keep it real, bro. We gotta keep it real.
Student X. Let me point. If Ben Carson was running against Bernie Sanders, you think I'm fucking voting for Ben Carson?
No, that's two different examples. We had a black woman on the left.
It's policy.
A black woman on the left, white man on the right. You could stop right there. You didn't even need to have research.
That's a good hypothetical question.
The sisters was going to support the Democrats just because it's white, black, green, whoever.
That to me, that shows you have very little. That to me, that shows you have very little respect for black women. To me,
that's not my respect, but that's keeping it real, bro.
That's not keeping it real. That's actually keeping it dumb. You're telling me that people don't vote for interest? Go ahead.
I'm saying for interest too, but I'm just saying you can. That's the number one reason. You didn't have to. There wasn't too many more reasons that were needed after that. You know what I'm saying? Some people.
There were tons of reasons. We just had Trump. We had tons of reasons.
Now notice this.
No, we had just had the Democrats. Joe Biden was in power.
We had just had Trump before. He wasn't nothing new.
Just put it here. Because Student X, we have to admit and acknowledge. Like, I'm just going to acknowledge first. I don't know why black women collectively voted the way that they do. I don't think Nice Guy or yourself, we don't know why. We have strong opinions and we may have some reasons to believe those things, but we don't know why. But what we do know is that according to what they've stated themselves on surveys, the reason they voted against Trump is because he was not a Democratic candidate. He wasn't a part of the Democratic Party, according to them. We know that if Obama never existed before 2008, those same black women were going and have voted Democrats. After Obama was gone, they still voted Democrats. So we see that their actions are consistent with their claims, the Democratic Party. And I think so we need to examine and juxtapose the Democratic Party with the Republican Party. And I think that's an important thing that Black MAGA or conservatives don't take into consideration. Often people say they're the same or the Democrats is worse. And that's just not an accurate analysis as far as like who's been most beneficial for Black people in the 20th century. It's been the Democrats, hands down. It's not even close. Not even close. It's like
I don't disagree with that.
Okay.
Wow.
So
that blew my mind right there. That blew my mind.
Have been Democrats.
So, people are not voting. Whatever demographic is not voting the same way that Black women are. They're lacking political education. Going back to education of the two parties, and which one is most beneficial for Black people. Black MAGA or people that support MAGA that happen to be Black, they don't have the same political education as Black women on that issue, and that's a problem. That goes back to
it's not that. It's that what Black MAGA prioritizes in terms of relevance and importance, and that is in the best interest of Black people, is not identical to what Black women and the left are prioritizing as the same.
I agree.
You know what I mean? So that's where the difference is right there.
That's the difference. I agree. That what are they prioritizing? When they you already know that from the left and right, where we have religion versus secularism. That's a big thing right there.
Trans people in straight bathrooms or whatever.
I just touch on that. There's a religion
I
base.
think that's an
You know what I mean?
important
Right
point
there
though,
alone.
because you have to realize. So, okay, there is no more progressive, no more beneficial legislation. And I put my life savings, I challenge and give you $50. Everyone in the audience, you, whoever, can tell me any federal policy in the 20th century that was better than the New Deal and the Great Society. The massive help to the most people of any given things that we take for granted: minimum wage, workers' compensation, workers' insurance, Social Security, Medicaid, or I think Medicare. One of them was, that's the New Deal. Still came out the New Deal. Things that we take for granted today, like no child labor, time off, 40-hour work week. That was a movement.
Yeah, very revolutionary.
All of the civil rights legislation, all under Democratic administration. So when the right wing has gaslit black people time and time again for voting for a Democratic Party, or they're doing it because they like the black man, he looks good, or they're just blind slaves to the
because Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. That's another argument.
And they're not seeing that. They bring that up. They don't. Political parties are not static. They change.
Right. Hey, brother, so I'm still listening. I'm gonna turn my video real quick. I'm gonna take a quick little break, but I'm still listening, and I'll be right back.
Sure.
Okay. So yeah, I'm saying, so there. I think that that's part of the problem. Not understanding the political history, not having a good political education, is part and parcel of the problem.
Well, see, my thing is, when we talk about why they were fooled, this is the thing that gets me about Trump. I feel like Trump delivered a lot on his promises. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things he talked about. What he talked about with DEI, for all intents and purposes, he did that. Yeah. When he's talking about the taxes, for all intents and purposes, he did that. You know what I'm saying? He's protecting billionaires and rich people. Yeah. His whole concept of the tariff things, he did that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, I'm not going to sit here and act like whatever, but I'm just saying that this was a guy who made very weak arguments. My issue, as it relates to the show, I would say, why did you think that was a reasonable argument to be made in the first place? The tariff things was asinine in its core from the very beginning. You know what I'm saying? It's just like people not even understanding who was actually paying the tariffs. You have people literally arguing that other countries are paying tariffs. They're just like, no. Yeah. Americans pay the tariffs. The American companies pay the tariffs, and then they pass it to American consumers.
Let me ask you this real quick. Where did you first learn of the term tariff from?
Well, I first probably was in school, but I'm just saying that he was.
Hey, education. That's my point. Like, these people don't have a great education, and that matters. I think, like Student X was kind of a little defensive that people can learn, without being educated, without going to college. That's true, but it's kind of like the more time you're in school.
It's a trend. We understand that there's exceptions. We're not saying that. That's why it's dangerous. You don't want to say that Republicans are uneducated. You don't want to say, what you want to say is that there's a large contingency that's whatever. So when we talk about school,
they have a discontinued education.
Discontinued. But we also understand that some people that go through school, not necessarily the smartest people, but the bottom line, by and large, you're going to find people that tend to think more critically, that tend to have more knowledge as it relates to these government institutions.
I like to put it this way: if I had a grifting, a scam, okay, and I had an audience that graduated from high school and another audience that didn't graduate from high school, who do you think would be more susceptible to that scam? Or an audience that made it to middle school and another audience that made it to high school? There's going to be a big difference in the way that they think.
Why do scammers attack old people?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Why does Fox News cater to old people? You know what I'm saying? It's just that they understand that this is going to be a very holdy on to the stuff that they grew up with, but is it going to be very susceptible to fear? And then there's just the whole issue of, when you get old, sorry, we don't maintain our sharpness.
And who's the most educated demographic, I think, or at least amongst Black people, who is the most educated demographic? Is Black women.
Oh, Black women.
Again, we need to listen to Black women. A lot of us, and I had to challenge myself on this years ago, and I hadn't read enough books by black women who are political thinkers. Like, have we read Angela Davis's book? Have we read Ida B. Wells, her book? When you read their literature, they're going to bring up the S word a lot, sexism, and because Bell Hooks talked about black women being at the intersection of race and sexism, two different systems of oppression. They really are, their antenna is up on these things. They can spot and identify these things in presidential candidates more easier than we can, or in systems and things. And they benefit the most from people who acknowledge those things. So,
well, we know who lost their look. Put it this way: we know who lost more jobs. We know who had an actual impact from this. Yeah. They saw it. They saw it coming. So that's why, to me, to say that they voted for her, because there's a lot of them arguing that she wasn't even black. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, it's an insult. If you're saying that I voted for Obama because he was black, that was a big part of it. But a big part of it was, I felt like he would, I heard what he was talking about. I felt like he would have a better chance.
No, I think it's better to say that a lot more black people came out and voted, especially for the first time. But regardless, they was going to vote Democratic anyway.
And that's really what happened last election. What really happened last election, and we can say, I'm
the opposite happened last election.
I'm saying what Walker's saying. You know what I'm about to say, but Walker says my opinion is that a lot of people didn't show up. Like, I knew
what you were going to say. That's exactly what I said. That's why I said the exact opposite happened based on Obama. More people showed up for Obama being part of history.
Exactly. But think about how many people showed up. Think about how many people showed up for Biden, though. After we went through COVID, after we went through Trump's first term, Biden got like a ridiculous amount of people showed up. That's why to this day Trump is basically saying, exactly. That's why Trump is saying
that means people didn't show up. You know what I mean? That means people didn't show up. That's that mail-in ballots, the fake ballots. That's why I'm saying. I mean, that people.
But whenever they tested the ballots, whenever they recounted them, it basically showed out the same. They hired that whole ninja firm to do that recount, and it was exactly the same. They literally, Georgia, they made them think recounted it 3 times.
We're not saying those ballots were not there. We're saying there were a lot of bogus ballots added to the count.
They couldn't have been because of how it was and how everything was being viewed from both sides. They had reps from both sides. It's literally the only people that are saying this are referring to videos that are like completely fabricated.
Nah, bro, no. That's a whole other subject.
A lot of that goes back to the education again. People believing in the 2020 election fraud when there is no evidence to support it, and like being able to digest and process that information, that takes a level of thinking that some people who are
I think you giving those people a disservice, bro. Yeah, what it is, they didn't have faith in those institutions that were reporting that data and that information, and the people that were there, whether they were right or left, and then that's where the breakdown happened,
and then they have faith in some other sources.
You should be questioning those in power, you know what I mean? Epstein files reveal that to us.
This is an interesting thing. None of us, are abreast, or most of the people are not abreast of the history of election frauds in the United States. Especially like the 61 thing that Nixon could have challenged. We're not really familiar, but why are we selectively outraged at the 2020? It's all because of MAGA and it's tied to Trump. This is one of the biggest indicators. It's a litmus test for support for Trump. If you support the 2020 election fraud.
No, I disagree, bro. That was my agreement to the people I know that wasn't agreement.
January 6th is tied to that. And what ties all those things together is that it was Trump's election. He was defrauded. It's not even a defraud. It's a Trump.
It's true that Trump was being elected, but then the people got mad because of, again, the process and what was done. It was not trusted and it was not looked at as valid. And that's where, the emotion came from.
What about the 2016 election?
What about 2016? I remember that when I was more on the left.
Dangling chads.
No fraud.
We go back further than that, bro. When Bush Jr. got elected, you know what I mean?
So then it's just
we thought that was rigged.
All the elections are fraud. So again, why are we selectively looking at 2020 if it's not for Trump?
But I'm saying, but with me personally, I've been on the elections for a long time. Saying that they're fraudulent, and that that's not accurate, and that they're selecting people for us versus us electing them. You know what I mean? Which is why I didn't vote for a long ass time. Then participated.
Why highlight 2020? Why is that being?
If they were cheating before, how come they didn't cheat this? How come they didn't cheat this time too?
Bro, because this time around, you gotta remember is that coming into that election, we had Trump, and then we had your boy Biden. And the people on the right, they already hands down felt that they knew and had a grasp of who these Democrats were, what their plan was, their strategy was, and they equated them to wanting to issue in a global order, and they were going to destroy this nation. You know what I mean? That's what the people were on that were on the right and whatnot, and they weren't far-fetched. They weren't far-fetched at all. That's exactly what happened. You know what I mean? When Biden came into power, it was like the weekend at Bernie's. We had the corpse of Biden, floating around here, where we have unelected people calling shots, using auto pens, and making decisions, for the American people, again, people they did not vote for. And then we saw it come to fruition when now the polls are coming out, Biden's behind, and then he was automatically replaced. The sitting president and a new candidate was issued or put inside the race via Kamala, and then we know how
because they made such an issue of his Asian incompetency. They made such an issue of the fact that he was old. You know what I'm saying?
It was easy to do. It was easy to do. It was a low-hanging fruit for sure.
And for some reason, old wasn't an issue when it was basically Trump's age. When he's showing basically all the signs that we were seeing with Biden. You know what I'm saying? But it was
much different with Biden, bro. Than what we're seeing with Trump.
Well,
Trump is belligerent, and a little wild.
First of all, Trump disagrees with that. Of course, he says that the 2024 election was a fraud election as well. They just didn't do enough fraud to stop him. So, but if this happened in 2016, it happened in 2012, 2008. This is just a normal feature, fraud in U.S. elections, hands down.
Yeah.
It doesn't explain the specific selective outrage about 2020 that led many people to support January 6th. What they all both have in common is Trump. You know what I'm saying? So, like, being a Trump supporter requires that you suppress critical thinking when it comes to January 6th at the very least, and when it comes to
I don't require you to do that at all.
The last
if you're a Trump supporter, it does. You're not a Trump supporter. You do it for different reasons, but Trump supporters do it out of loyalty.
I'm on behalf of those that I know that are there too.
If you were a person concerned with election fraud, and you want to examine the election fraud of 2016, 2012, all of that. But if your only, outrage is the 2020, that is a Trump supporter, because you're only concerned with how it affected Trump.
Well, yeah, you had all those extra stipulations. And the only time you've been concerned with election was stolen was 2020. But then you're over the age of 50. You know what I mean? Then you're probably right.
There was one big anomalous situation with 2020 that makes it a little bit different. And because of COVID and all of this stuff, people relied on mail-in ballots more than they relied on whatever. So that was irregular as far as, as I understand it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I believe
there's very regular things like that have happened.
I know that, but I'm just saying that if more of the voting is done by mail-in ballots, I'm just saying that makes that election in itself a little bit different than the other elections. And I would say that one of the reasons that you had such great participation is because you made it easier to vote. And I'm saying that people like Trump and by people like Trump who want to make it actually difficult to vote, because it's not just a function of just showing your ID. They're talking about passports and stuff that'll make you do like a whole lot of
I'm not opposed to that. A free and fair election to make sure that is accurate, is the key to
if
democracy.
You make it wait. If there's this thing called diminishing returns. So if it turns out that something is actually not making something actually more accurate and more safe, then you have diminishing returns. You're spending a way lot more and getting just a little bit more progress. My point is that it was one thing.
I don't want it.
Listen. If it's one thing to have people show up with their ID, to make people get passports too, that they got to produce multiple forms of whatever, you are going to make people. You are going to basically.
No, that's not too much. If you have an ID, a simple ID,
that's what they're doing. That's the argument.
Let me think about this. Let's think this through. Let's think this through. I mean, so when you go open up a bank account, do you not have to use two forms of ID?
You don't have to get a passport. You don't have to get a passport.
I was not to say a passport, but you have to have at least two forms of ID. So I will be okay with two forms of ID, not necessarily having to get a passport too. Because like right now, I use my passport. Oh, speaking of which, we gotta get renewed. I use my passport in exchange for getting new California ID.
Everybody doesn't have a bank account. The rights to have a bank account is different to the right to vote, to express your whatever.
That's just one form of second ID. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is to make sure that we have
this is an example. I'm saying this is an example because what is like the history of say
making it difficult to
restriction
vote.
of voting in the United States? Like if you're ignorant of that history, you would.
Well, but we don't have anything like that today.
They're talking about doing something. They're literally, that's literally what they're talking about doing.
You understand?
Making a person do
for example,
the historical test. Please listen.
People who might be illiterate.
Listen.
The historical trajectory of voting, how voting has changed, has been a democratizing of voting. Voting was restricted at one time. You had to be a male, you had to be white, and you had to own property. Period. That didn't change until the mid-century. Okay, you no longer had to own property, but you still had to be white. You still had to be male. In the early 20th century, 1920s, women's suffrage, or in the late 19th century, they included black. Now you can be something other than white. Now you don't have to be of a certain sex. Okay, but in the South, black people have all types of restrictions. You have to take a literacy test. The white people in the South couldn't read either. Had a third grade education. Well, we don't want them making decisions if they don't have literacy. These are just restrictions upon restrictions, and they've already calculated. We're sitting here
nothing like that is being proposed today, brother. I understand the past.
We're debating on a very small level. They're thinking large scale. If we put this restriction, how would this affect the outcome?
Well, look, great. If it's not that important for you to vote,
how would this affect?
It'll discourage. You're okay with it. Discourage. You're discouraging people for having their voice. And again,
if you're bringing birth certificates, for instance, that automatically is going to reduce. Doesn't matter what you say or it's going to reduce the number of women.
The people that actually show up. Yeah.
Names are different from the names when they get married
because they don't have birth certificates.
Complicate the process. Those who are rich and white and influenced, their voice is going to be heard. They got the correct documentations. They're at the correct bowling.
So wait. So poor people don't get their birth certificates?
They have to pay for it. It takes time. They have, and again, those things don't match up. If you're a woman, with
passports cost.
Your passports are free. I understand that.
I'm just saying it. But this is the thing,
and it's all on the basis of. It's all on the basis of restricting people of color from voting. The whole notion is that illegal immigrants are voting. This is the whole basis of the whole thing. It's just racism.
But I don't think it's that. I think that's part of the reason they're concerned for sure is that they don't want any foreign interference in their election. They know all about it because they do it abroad all the time.
Isn't it fair to say that this is coming from the MAGA-based white conservatives, and they don't see it as racist?
Sure, either, absolutely.
Okay, they don't see it as racist, just like you.
You don't think they can fake? You don't think they can fake IDs and passports?
Again, you make it more difficult, and the more difficult you make it, then you lower the likelihood.
That's
you know,
the
and
whole point.
But see, you're weighing about you're saying the difficulty. If you make it more difficult, it'll be harder to defraud it. But I'm saying if you make it more difficult, you'll actually discourage participation in the voting process.
Well,
and then the question is, and then what you do.
That concerns me less than having an election process that is accurate.
Concerns me more. But see, that's the thing about it. It's diminishing returns. It's not making it act. If you're talking about going from 99.3 to 99.4 versus literally like 20% drop off of Black people participating in the vote.
I don't think MAGA got it wrong on this one. I don't think MAGA got it wrong on this one.
Sure
I think personally that it is a good idea, and I think that it won't be this subject won't impact people.
It will discourage. It will.
They vote for.
Wait. But you don't think this won't impact people showing up to vote? Making them.
No. I'm saying that in terms of being a motivating factor
to vote left or right. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Brother. That's the question I'm asking. Do you think that if you put these restrictions, like we talked about, passport, all these hoops, do you think that will discourage from people from voting?
No, absolutely.
That's it. And I'm just saying that's important.
I'm not mad at that. Look, if you want to vote and you were serious about this process, you may not have the money. You may not have the money. There's a process that is going to make sure that it's fair and accurate. And if you want to participate, follow the rules and do it. And if not, don't do it. It's simple as that.
So this is again. This is linked back to the education piece. Even like the fraud, there's no evidence that fraud is negligible in most of the elections in modern and recent times.
Negligible. They when they discern it.
You're gonna fraud.
You that the people in 2020 that believe Trump won.
I know, dumb motherfuckers.
I lost $1,000. I had to double it up, this last year to get it back. You know what I mean? And still get my original winnings. You know what I mean? So, like I say, this issue right here is just not going to motivate people to go vote or not vote, I believe. But yes, I do agree with you that if there are, more hoops to jump through, that it would incentivize some people who don't find it,
So pause right there. So do you think MAGA's goal is to, reduce the votes from certain demographics, or is to make elections fair?
No, I think it's both. For sure.
He's doing it to reduce. so it's being done
like the gerrymandering. It's just like the gerrymandering.
At
least they were honest. At least they were honest about that.
I think he realized that in the process of making it more fair, it will discourage some people
it's not more fair.
And those people are likely to be people that typically don't care, about these things.
So,
some of our subject matter we cover on our show. It's not, all that exciting and important to, certain demographics. You know what I'm saying? So if they have to do a little bit more to participate in that, then they're not going to do that. And I think they see both as being
that's coming out from Trump. You believe that the spirit behind it, the intention is to make the elections more fair. That's what Trump is advocating for.
Both more fair and simultaneously to diminish people who are less likely to vote for him and his party, from participating. It's both. That's the one thing that sometimes I feel like we come in clash with. Two things could both be true at once. You know what I mean? And sometimes you guys are position things where it's like one or the other. It's like, no, they both could be true simultaneously.
The reason why, wait. We've completely support that. We talk about that. We understand that all the time. But in this situation, at least let me speak for me. I can't speak for Alpha agnostics. I know damn well, you don't know it, but Trump knows damn well that all that fraud shit, he just made that shit up. He knows that it's highly actually reliable. He knows that. He's just playing the game. And that's what I'm saying. So he's not doing it for both because he knows that other thing is a lie. He told when they had the hearings and they had the dude Kavanaugh, when he's saying, he's like, oh yeah, Trump knew damn well like that he didn't win it. You know what I'm saying? Trump's father told him never ever accept defeat, never admit to it. So guess what? He's doing what he was taught to do. I commend him for being Trump and being consistent.
No, I mean, but I mean, in fairness, what I saw Trump do is that, and I think he knew that the ballots, he had less ballots because the argument the whole time was that there were fake ballots, that don't belong to American citizens and people, and duplicate ballots that were entering into the system, and they're being counted illegally and fraudulently. So that was always the main argument.
Why did he see?
Then the sub-arguments was the media's involvement and suppressing articles and information leading up to the election, influenced elections. So those were the bases. It wasn't. It's why to say I have more votes than you.
Why did he seize the ballots to count them? If they just introduced way more fake ballots in there, what is he going to be able to discern by counting them?
Yeah, because the whole thing was then once you start doing a count, then now you have to actually, tally that count up with an actual real voter on a voter roll. And then if you start getting duplicates or you start getting names that aren't on the voter roll,
that's what they did they did it 3 times, Student X. 3 times. You said earlier in this show that they said, well, if there's fake ballots, of course the results are going to come out to be the same.
Right, they were finding just like they found in the Social Security, they were finding the ballots of dead people, all types of things, bro. Going back to the 1800s.
They didn't. So my point is that if they found if the ballots have basically been corrupted because they put extra ballots in there, why seize them? What are you going to find different from seizing the ballots that he just recently did?
No, the whole thing was seizing it and forcing a recount, vote by vote, ballot by ballot, to ensure the authenticity of the ballots themselves.
3 times.
That was the whole argument that was being made. And then what was said that when it was said that was done, some states argued they didn't have to. You know what I mean? I believe you're talking about Atlanta or Georgia, rather, that did it.
Whose votes did he just steal? Didn't he just steal the full count? Whatever he literally had the FBI.
Yeah, he took the votes and counting.
Yeah. So this is my point. I'm just saying that. Yeah, my point is that if the records were if they stacked the deck, what's the point in grabbing the deck? Because the deck is going to still be stacked. That's
but what I'm saying simultaneously, when that all happened, I don't think they knew exactly where it was coming from. They were just trying to hit every single thing, you know what I mean, to find out, what went wrong, But like I said, to me, in my opinion, and I didn't vote for Trump this time. I didn't vote for him any of the times. Is I felt like, based on everything, that we were seeing in terms of participating, all the facts we've gone over in the past, that there's no way Biden won that election. That's me personally. There's no way he won it, but they say he did, and then he served for 4 years, and then, here we are. But I still don't believe it. You know what I'm saying?
And this is
educated or not,
do you believe that Trump is popular right now?
You believe what now? I'm sorry.
Do you believe that Trump is popular right now?
Well, we know Trump is not popular right now. We see
we don't know nothing. We don't know nothing. I just asked you, do you believe that?
Bruh,
I don't know anything.
Based on the facts and everything we have, I know for a fact Trump is not popular, and that Trump was trying to save his career, his political career, with his attack on Iran, but then it basically just sunk him.
Let me ask you this. So the thing is this right here. When you for one, you believe that the 2020, that was election fraud. And, not necessarily 2016, 28, 2012, those don't matter, 2020. This one was
I didn't say all elections,
but this is your outrage. This is your belief that this one was fraud. You don't necessarily believe 2016 was fraud, right?
Bro, like I said, I didn't vote in 2016. I think they're all
frauds. I'm saying, do you believe that
he said he thinks they're all frauds? He thinks they're all frauds. He said they're all frauds.
So all frauds. Okay, so fraud is the one thing that's been constant and consistent throughout all presidential elections. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay, so it becomes futile to even say 2020 was fraud because this is something that's kind of just consistent. It's just the norm. But the thing is, why this particular outrage at this fraud? I mean, if you like,
because of the awakening of the people.
You talked a lot. I'm saying the notion.
Oh, I thought you were asking me a question.
Okay. No, it was rhetorical. My bad.
Okay.
But I'm saying the notion that Trump is leading this campaign, this SAFE Act, you really believe that he's concerned about voting fraud and he wants to see voting fairness and justice. where you have a conception of him as a good and fair leader.
Are
Nobody
you
has
saying
this
me
conception.
personally? Or are we
No,
talking about
Yes,
Mark?
you
If
personally.
you believe anyone,
Bro, come on, bro.
anyone
If I
who
believe that, I would have
believes
voted for him.
that Trump
You know what I'm
is
saying?
leading this campaign because he's concerned with voting fairness.
Bro, I don't think Trump is
that Trump-
concerned with anything or anybody but himself and his interests. You know what I mean? You know, and that's it. That's all. And I think they're all like that. You know
It
what I
took
mean?
an hour
You
and 10
know?
minutes, but he finally got there. So the question is, why did it get it so wrong that it took an hour and 10 minutes to get there?
So I'm saying, but even like this perception of Trump, so this belief that 2020 was fraud, that January 6th was not an insurrection or insurrection denialist.
Yeah.
The belief that Trump is a leader who is really concerned with bringing about justice and fairness in presidential and elections and the political sphere. That is so different from, say, someone else, like Black women believe just the opposite. So, like, again, the difference, what made you or others people that think that way arrive at those conclusions, and what makes Black women, what makes the left arrive at the total opposite conclusion? Because I would say that it's for power, because he wants to win and keep power, and that the idea of fraud is just a pretext. It's just something that they are using to justify it, and that's fraud in itself. I mean, to really believe that he's concerned about that, and the belief that this selective outrage at 2020 fraud that affected the outcome that didn't give Trump the win, that shows to me Trump's supportism. It's just clear.
Yeah, but I mean, what it shows to me is that it's both sides. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, both sides of the aisle. It doesn't matter if it's Trump or it's Obama. I saw someone put Obama derangement syndrome. We talk about Trump derangement syndrome, Obama derangement. When you understand that it's all the same. The different actors, different players and whatnot, you know, but this whole thing is all the same. You know what I mean? They're all corrupt.
The Social Security fraud that Trump spoke of in his first, I'm sorry, my thing wasn't even on, in his first so-called State of the Union address, because it wasn't technically a State of the Union address in 2024, in January, you referenced that as legit. That's
reference what is legit?
The Social Security fraud that he referenced, 20 million people, receiving Social Security benefits.
When they were going, when Elon Musk was going through they were going through doing the auditing and whatnot and everything, there was all type of fraud that was found rampant in the government. You know, payments being made to pay people and everything was rampant.
That's what they said.
Now that's what I'm saying. So let's deal with one specific claim that you referenced. Was the Social Security fraud. You believe that?
What do you mean, do I believe it, bro? You know, the information they were publishing showing, going back, from even some people, they had some payments that were going out to people that were, 200 years old, 150 years old, or whatnot. That information from way back, they got introduced when.
Hold on. So you believe, because he decided that over 20 million people from ages 100 to 150 were receiving Social Security benefits.
I don't remember the number. But absolutely, I believe in what I saw when they were showing that there were multiple, people and multiple fraud, inside of our government where people were getting fact check. That couldn't have been alive.
But then that stuff was fact checked.
Hold on, man. First of all, not even we can demographically show how that doesn't make any sense. I think it's a lack of understanding how the government operates. Like the Census Bureau information doesn't even match that number of people that are over 100 years old.
Right, you keep talking about the number. I'm not acknowledging the number. I have no idea what the number was talking about. I know that during that time when Elon Musk and them were doing the auditing of the government, and the different institutions, there was fraud found. You're saying it wasn't fraud found?
No. He said that the fraud that he identified in that address was that 20 million people from ages 100 to 150 were receiving Social Security benefits. Now, I'm saying there are not that many people that are centenarians that are over that age, for one. And then notice this, I mean, it was such an accident. It didn't mathematically, and this is the thing about Trump that many people believe is a smart person who support him, is that when kids, I can deal with kids all the time. When kids are unsophisticated, they make the stupidest lies. They make lies that are actually measurable that you can disprove easily. And Trump's makes these lies. Like he came with these numbers and it doesn't make sense. The second thing to that, if that were true, why is no one being indicted? Why is no one being fired? Who ran that? Who was given 20 million people?
It's just I'll give you another example. When Bondi was sitting there talking about how she goes the fentanyl. This is such and such happened. So this basically saved this many Americans. And she was going up in this number, and it was like she was talking about this saved like a million people or something deaths from fentanyl. And like literally over the last 10 years, there was like 16,000 deaths or something like that. But I'm just saying that these numbers that they're proposing are absolutely absurd, because if they were true, then you'd be like, the budget would be this big. You know what I'm saying? So that these things are easy. And I'm just saying that they were doing fact checks on that stuff in real time.
But now,
and the things that it was saying
those things go over well. I'm saying if you have a population that made it to high school and a population that made it to 8th grade, those type of lives are going to go over more well with people who only made it to the 8th grade. That's why when the people with continuous education are the less likely to support Trump, because they have the, not saying even the knowledge, the information in college, but the critical thinking skills for having the
Doge information is public record that you could go look up and see, you know, what was found. I'm looking at it right now. And it was $15 million overall. They break it down. It doesn't take, again, rocket scientists to go through this data information and see that there was fraud.
What data? I'm sorry.
And then hundreds of billions of dollars.
Can you repeat? Rewind.
Say again now?
He said repeat.
Yeah, repeat.
What source are you looking at, and what are you saying?
Yeah, what did you say?
The Doge of government efficiency, you know, looking at the GAO reports on their own site, you know, and looking at the data that they're showing, and then I'm looking at a chart right here, you know, so a chart right here now showing the money in the billions saved, you know, so GAO fraud range annual 233 to 521 billion, and then the claim savings, we're looking at it with the claim savings, things that got perpetrated. So yeah, you know, it's a bunch of numbers here, and like I said, what it's showing here, you know, is that there was absolutely fraud, there was absolutely waste, you know what I mean? There was absolutely, you know, improper payments, you know, that was taking place, you know, on a massive level, you know, both state levels and whatnot and everything. These are all facts. This is what the American people mean by America first and what they want done differently. And that's what they thought they were getting in the early stages. And then,
yeah.
Okay, so go ahead.
Go ahead. Now finish up, Stu, next.
No, and then I'm about to say, and then, you know, after these things are getting discovered, and then that's when people start seeing, like, you know, you start getting confused by Trump, because Trump and Elon had a falling out. You know, then this big new deal was coming on board where trillions of dollars is going to be, you know, a part of it and whatnot, you know, and then everything just started going downhill from there. You know, but
so
again, fraud was discovered.
That's another belief you have, that Trump and Elon, they put together this Doge thing to create more justice for everybody, because to stop fraud and corruption. That's what it was really intended to do. That's
what was promoted, and that's what the people aligned behind and got behind.
But
you know what I mean?
That was Trump's. You know what I'm saying, but that was Trump's intention. That's what he wanted to do, right?
I mean, again, I don't think any of these people have intentions to do right by the masses.
But you believe their reports. You believe their reports.
American people. You know what I mean? You know, so it's not what I believe. You know.
No, I'm saying you just read from their report, and you think their report is accurate, right? Because they were seeking out.
I'm not, you know, in terms of its accuracy or not, you know, I can see what they publish. You know, do I believe that they found fraud and wasted, you know, and abuse in the government? Absolutely, we know that.
And that was the reason.
Do you think they found 6.5?
And that was the reason why those was put together.
I don't think they found enough. You know, honestly.
Yeah, because I'm looking at what this is. NPR analysis found that about $6.5 billion in supposed savings attributed to Dodge has not been terminated. So Dodge reports 140 billion in savings as of March 30, 2025, with various measures, but this figure is under scrutiny due to unaccounted treasury funds. So there's, there are questions surrounding the 55 billion estimated by I'm just saying there's a lot of fact checks to say that. I understand if they're reporting this, but it's just like, how I say that it's amazing how we have so much distrust of this government, but some people that have so much great distrust of this government are so trusting of another government. They're not as trustworthy either. All of these governments are.
Everyone's learning now you can't trust none of them, and that's what we need the people to be at.
But you quoted from their report, and you're
it's the data that we have. It's the data. What are you talking about? Just report.
The data that they say.
We know that there's abuse fraud in the American government. Again, you don't believe that there's any abuse or fraud in the American government? You don't believe that people are getting money that shouldn't get money, and money's being extracted from the American people?
Okay, don't believe that? Doge is a fraud. Doge is a fraud. You don't believe that, do you? Saying people on the left, they understand that, and black women in general, they understand Doge itself is a fraud. Let me just say really quick, what government agency, what part of the government is the most corrupt and the most fraud?
He's asking
me what it is? In general? Or are you saying according to what the report showed or what?
Or the budget. Or the budget.
According to all facts that are intergovernmental facts of everyone knows what government agency creates the most fraud and corruption.
Government agency.
No, it's the Pentagon.
Absolutely. Yeah, they don't get audited. Okay.
That's
what I'm saying.
That's not even so. That's like if you're concerned with fraud, you start there.
Yeah, you think the MAGA base did not want the Pentagon? Trump said he was going to audit the Pentagon. MAGA base believed he was going to do that.
What you're saying, you're implicitly implying that Trump, like this thing, what do you call it? That he's trying to put together to stop the election fraud. It starts with an S. I can't remember, but whatever that is, he's Trump is the SAFE Act. The SAFE Act. So this SAFE Act, this Trump administration thing, is to go after voter fraud and corruption, make things more just and fair. Doge was also put together to go after corruption and fraud to make things more just and fair. And you believe that they actually put it together to do that?
You're saying I believe that, or you're asking me?
I'm asking you, do you believe that? Because
I'm saying this is what I don't know. I don't believe it. I tell you, I don't believe none of these people, bro. But in terms of how it was marketed and presented to the people, that's what the people were told that was going to take place.
I think you believe it because you are advocating. You work on Doge's mission. You thought was a good thing. You believe that the 2020 elections was a fraud. That's information that's coming from MAGA, pretty much. There's no objective.
I think for a fact it would be a great thing, not a good thing, a great thing if the government and the Pentagon were audited and the American people see the real books that we're dealing with and the challenges that we're dealing with. That would be a great thing, you know what I mean? And that's what MAGA wants, and I think that's what every American citizen should want.
MAGA wants the Pentagon to be investigated.
Absolutely, and more so now than ever. But before, they trusted the leadership, but Trump has shattered all that now. What do you mean why they don't do it, bro?
For one, why do you believe
the government don't work for the people? The government does not work for the people.
He's saying that Trump is
the Trump government is the government that's putting together these efforts. But then you turn around and say because the government doesn't, it's Trump that's put together Doge, that's putting together the SAFE Act. Bro, but you're saying that the same government doesn't. You keep going in and out of different worlds.
You keep asking me my own personal beliefs, and then you ask me, in terms of from the MAGA standpoint of view, what is it that they're seeing? And so those two, you can get two different answers. You know what I mean? Because I'm not MAGA. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So, and like I said, I'm
the more important issue is that Trump has basically betrayed both. He's betrayed what Student X believes, and he's betrayed MAGA. So he's basically being rogue. So it's really not an issue.
He didn't betray what I believe because he's doing exactly what I believe him to be and do.
Wait. So he's betraying what you believe he should do. Are you saying that he does exactly what you want him to do? He's
But
your champion?
no,
Is that what you're saying?
he's betraying what he
So
said.
you are a
do.
Trump fan.
No. He
You
betrayed
do
what he
love
said
Trump.
he was going to do. Not what I believe he was going to do.
I'm
You know
just
what I mean? What
saying.
he said he was going to do.
But I'm saying that he's doing policies. He's performing policies that are hostile to positions that you might defend, and he's doing it hostile to positions that MAGA has taken. Do you agree that? Can I get a yes?
I mean, first of all,
yes?
to point out that a president of the United States is doing something that would offend me.
Why
My
you got
God, you know what I mean?
Yes or
You
no?
know what I mean? That's
yeah.
You know what I mean? Trump,
Okay.
You know what I mean? So
or you can just say yes, and we move on to the next point. So that's a yes, and that's what I'm saying. So that's why when I say that Trump is betraying, I'm just saying that Trump is betraying principles that I have. He's definitely betraying potential principles that I have. He seems to be betraying principles that you have, and based on what MAGA is saying, he's betraying principles that MAGA has. And MAGA didn't see this coming.
How would it be a betrayal? Because his principles aren't my principles, so he's not betraying. I don't feel he's betraying me. You know what I mean?
I think he's betraying me if he's supposed to be doing right. If he's supposed to be
people who think that he was going to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
People who actually that's the issue.
If you have an expectation that's going to happen, you know what I'm saying? Then you got betrayed. You know what I mean? But I have that expectation.
If he is the captain of the ship and he's going to sink it, I don't give a damn what my expectations are. He's betraying me as someone.
I don't believe he's the captain of the ship.
I'm just saying. Well, again, I know. Damn it, I'm on whatchamacallit, so I can't say what it was.
The thing is, I'm saying, so it's interesting that and I'm not. This is you, but not you directly. But I'm saying that you listen and promote the views of people who did believe that who are like Nick Fuentes. Not saying you support Nick Fuentes, but there's a connection between Fuentes and Owens and Kurt Tucker, and all of them. Those people have expressed that they're deeply disappointed by Trump. They thought Trump was going to do this. But what made them think that? What made them think that Doge was concerned with fairness? What makes them think that that Trump is?
Because they believe that he was going to do.
I think it's the same thing of what a lot of people, is that, you think someone signs that they have. You see signs that they have good intentions. You human beings want to believe what people say. You know what I mean? You still might observe them, of course. You know what I mean?
He had great intentions. He had great agnostic. He had great intentions for white people.
Yeah.
He did, and he did it. And
even if you're looking beyond white people, if you're looking at just a lot of the things that he's promoting benefit all people. You know what I mean? In terms of what he was promoting. Now, whether you believe,
I'm talking about what he did. I'm not talking about what he's promoting.
Can I just say this right here? That's an example of like political maturity in terms of political education. Like you don't make votes based on intentions. That's more naive than making votes because someone is black or something like that. You look at the vote, like when black people choose the Democratic Party, they're just looking at outcomes of this party administration as opposed to the most recent, as opposed to Reagan or Bush. They're looking at the history of the policies, the things that affect them, jobs and things like that. So, I mean, the whole notion that I'm going to vote for Trump because I think he has good intentions, I think there's a particular demographic that feels that way. Black women don't. They didn't. Black people in general didn't, like 80%. The black left don't. So why is that? I think that's what
that's what I was telling you is that I want to say that the majority of people now when you're talking about black women again, seeing Trump, white man, blonde hair, his history of being a billionaire, it was easy not to like him. He's a Republican and Democrat, so it was easy.
Racism, sexism,
black women don't like him. You know what I mean?
Racism and sexism, black women don't like it. They don't like racism and sexism.
So I mean, right off the bat, it's easy to not like him. You know what I mean? As far as a person. Now, other people.
No. It's not the person. It's the history of racism and sexism.
Yeah, well, I think before Trump came on the scene, and he positioned himself as a Republican, he was more endeared, and particularly among black men in hip hop, but a black woman, I would say, were more neutral, more neutral. They didn't care one way or another, you know what I mean? For the most part, until he got politically active, and now he's a Republican, and then he's running against Democrat. Then, of course, just based on that fact alone, and the 90% rate which black women tend to support Democrats over Republicans, then right there alone, he was opposition.
Remember when we were talking about exit polls?
He didn't say anything and then win any sisters over, you know what I mean? At all.
What we find out from this is that black women, their view of Trump, way back in 2016, is more in sync with the political reality of Trump and who Trump is. And therefore, if they're right, we need to understand racism as a system of repression and sexism better in the role that they play in politics.
I would say before black women,
and the one way we do that is we got to start listening to more black women, YouTube channels, reading more books by black women and their political.
Well, I guess if it's on Trump,
if you're not doing that, if you're not doing that, you're doomed to make the same mistakes that they didn't make, that they didn't see 10 years ago.
So it sounds crazy if you're telling me that the world the American citizens need to pattern ourselves after black women speaking politically. And that's
he didn't say that. He didn't say that. He said to listen to them. He didn't say that you go them and then you suck on their teeth. He's saying that you take
listen, meaning support their point of view, meaning
or hear it out. Not necessarily support. Hear it out. We
need to get off the manosphere channels and all this stuff. Kevin Samuels. We need to listen to black women.
Remember earlier in the show. Hold on a second. Remember earlier in the show we were talking about exit polls, and we're talking about that. So we weren't talking about our opinion. They were just talking about exit polls. I remember the exit poll discussions when Trump lost, the election and whatever it's 20 or something. It was because they felt like Trump was the better person for the economy. But they felt like Biden was the better person to get us through COVID because COVID was right center in their face. That's what they felt like. He handled that better, and that was what the exit polls were showing. Again, that's not my opinion. That's how I'm saying that's what it was. And then when it came down to the next election, it was like, look, they feel like Trump is going to be better for the election. The economy is still hurting. You know what I'm saying? This was like this was the big thing. It's like they still believe and identified Trump is going to be better for the economy. When they did the polls, his thing was better for the economy. And I'm just saying that I would say to tie back into this theme of the show, that was the naivete, because again, this is a person who did some amount, a lot of wealth, but this is a person who went through a lot of bankruptcies. This is a person who had a lot, casino failed. This is a person who went through a whole lot of stuff financially. And again, you can't just bankrupt the country if things don't go well. You know what I'm saying? That's just not the tool that you have in the toolbox. So my point is that he was telling you these cockamamie theories about tariffs and all this other stuff. And I'm just saying that what ironically is now, if you were to look at his polls on economy, that shit is like super flip. Like he's not looked at as the economic guru that he's been looked at the last few election cycles. So I'm just saying that that's an example of a naivete that people had before that they don't seem to exercise now.
And another quick reason why we should listen to black women and their views on like the political economy is because economic security is important to black women. Because black women are primarily raising the kids. So, they're really concerned about jobs paying enough, the cost of living, healthcare, affordability, because they're making
black women are primarily the ones raising kids. Is that what you said?
Yeah, the black women are primarily the ones that raise the kids. And so they're the most concerned.
What are you talking about? That doesn't make sense, that statement. I think what you mean to say is maybe leads in single parent households, maybe, that would make more sense.
Well, more is more. More is more.
Pause. I noticed this too. Hold on. On one hand, when you look at single parents, most of those single parents are women. So just by virtue of that alone. Secondly, even when you look at two-parent household, generally speaking, who is actually doing the day-to-day work for the kids? Who is actually preparing the food, the lunch, making sure that they have their doctor's appointments on schedule, You know,
I mean, typically
washing
women.
their clothes. Yeah, so the women are really
So
concerned
that's the
about.
point. That's
That's
what he
the
was
whole
arguing.
point.
That was all he was saying. He
Yeah,
wasn't saying
that's
nothing.
why we have to
I didn't
really.
know that's what it was, and you know, necessarily in more liberal democratic type of households. You know what I mean? You know,
I think you complicated it. He was very simple, and what he just said is that's how I interpret it. Now he's explaining it to you, and you agree with it. So we don't
Yeah,
even
so
need
I'm
to go
saying
any further.
because of that, Black women, again, it's that intersectionality is where they are. They deal with sexism in the house a lot of times. They deal with sexism outside the house in healthcare. They do because there are certain healthcare benefits that go to men that women are not entitled to just because they don't have a penis. You know, so they're very aware and keen of these things. So when they vote and they think about these things, they're going to think about them in a different way. And all I'm saying is that that's why we must listen to them and get off of this manosphere stuff, because obviously, again, they're leading the way. They're seeing things that we don't see, that MAGA don't see, that conservatives don't see, that the right don't see, that the non-left doesn't see. So that's very obvious. And when we look at Trump, again, they're just now coming by and saying he's a fascist. The left has been saying he's a fascist since 2016. They're just now saying, well, he may be a little racist. Black women, Black people have been saying he was racist since 2006. So, you know, again, we need to take those thoughts in consideration because they're right. They're correct.
Yeah, no, I would say before one would lean towards, you know, Black women's political, you know, intuition. I would think that who I would recommend people lean towards would be those who have divested from both parties.
He's not telling you to not do anything else that you've been doing. He's saying that, look, do everything that you've been doing, but we should be listening to sisters more.
I'm saying, but I understand what he said. You know, I'm saying that that's not exactly what I would tell people. The guidance I would give in terms of you're trying to get it right politically. I would say that what you want to do is look at those that have realized that the left and right have both failed us, you know, and it's failing us, you know, and that people who tend to could objectively be able to deconstruct both the right and the left, identify the BS and not be a part of it, you know what I mean? Then that's more the intuition, you know, and insight, you know, that I think is a lot more valuable than just any one particular type of class, you know, a voter, including Black women. As much as I love Black women, and I think that Black women do have some, you know, a different perspective than a lot of people. You know what I mean? You know,
but I'm saying you're not acknowledging that, like, if there is if we made a bet, and you know, and I'm 85% of my bets are correct, 15% of yours are correct. I mean, you have to, like, goddamn, man, you need to listen to me 85% of the time.
Yeah, if that were true, that would be absolutely right. But that's not what's happening here.
We need to listen to more Black women. But I got to address this shit that Floyd put. Floyd is a goddamn lie. Look, my dad, as an example.
What Floyd put? I'm in the loop. What did he do?
I'll put it up there.
He said something else, but I ain't putting that up there. All right, let me put this. This is what he put up there. I don't even know why he put that.
Oh, not that.
Yeah, I know.
What's controversial about that?
I'm just saying, I don't know what the context of it. I don't know where he was going with that. This I understand. So if you're an active parent, you're both raising a child. It does not to one side be what reading is fundamental. No, I'm just kidding. But because you cook more meat, he's just talking about.
We disagree with this. Is that what we're saying? We disagree with this statement?
Listen. Go ahead. You can speak for yourself.
Oh, you want me to speak on? Okay, because it looks like that when you're at the surface. But I've been in many different Black households, and I see from within and from without. And if we as men are honest with ourselves, we know that it's the woman that's doing the day-to-day work for the maintenance of the children. You know what I'm saying? They're the ones going to the grocery store 8-9 times out of 10. They're the ones that are preparing the meals 8-9 times out of 10. They're washing the clothes 8-9 times out of 10. Not saying that one time that daddy did it, he did it that weekend, he was doing it. I'm just saying consistently they bore the brunt. They do the most of the work around the board. I mean, I don't see how that's even disputable.
He's just saying that as a father, you're still raising your child, even if you're doing a different type of behavior. You know what I'm saying? So
let me tell you what the dudes. I'm saying dudes is doing.
Oh yeah, come on and speak up. Quit.
Dudes is doing this. Dudes is at the crib.
Oh wow. Breaking news: Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has been killed. Wow.
If that's true, that would be a major escalation.
That's boy. So that's probably true because that's
he was expecting to get hit, you know what I mean, and knew it. But like I said, the way Iran has set things up is that it's not a unilateral leadership, you know what I mean. So like a one chain of command, you know. So in fact, that right there might actually kick in a retaliatory where all their forces are instructed to launch and deploy everything if that's true, you know, simultaneously, you know. So we'll see, you know, just how true that is.
So maybe Iran will affect us.
Mr.
Point X, I thought you would come and say something, but
any war is going to affect us.
So,
but
maybe.
Back to Back to what we were saying.
Come on, brother. I'm sorry to interrupt the show, but I just gotta get my point out, bro. You can't say the father is not as active just because she takes him to school more. Come on, brother. That sounds.
What does active mean, Mr. Flatex? So
if you're in a household and you're actively raising your children, when you walk in the house and they respect what you say, you say, take the trash out, and you instructing them to do something, you are as actively involved in your children's lives as the woman.
Let me tell you this as an honest, transparent perspective. I remember when my ex, when she went out the country for this thing, and shit, you know what I'm saying? Like the logistics of running the household, like my daughter's clothes, like how she set them out, where they were, like how they were organized in the drawer. I didn't know shit. My daughter telling me, no, she does this. No, you got to get that out first. No, you don't do it like that. So generally speaking, that is women within the family are doing that type of work. Not saying that the man isn't doing anything, but it's the woman that's really actively raising. When you say raising the kid,
hey, Mr. Flatex, I got
providing the fundamental things for the kid. That's what the woman is doing.
Let me give you an example, Mr. Flatex.
You disagree with that?
I get what he's saying. I get what you're saying. But let me say. I think you're kind of arguing different things. But I would say that what if you're the boss? You are the boss. You're the boss of the focus up. I know you don't want to admit that stuff like that. But like let's say you designate a manager, okay? So now your manager is working over a project, you know what I'm saying? But you're telling the manager what to do. You as a boss, you may interact with the employees as well, but the manager is dealing with them on a day-to-day basis. So it's just that the manager is more boots on the ground, more interacting with the stuff. They're basically all your agenda. So all of this is still coming from the top. So I can see where you're basically saying, look, all of this is coming from me. You know what I'm saying? But what he's talking about is just
about labor.
But he's talking about labor. He's talking about actual interaction with the people, and it's different. It's
but
just,
there's an underline of that. They're more important, though. They hold.
No. I don't think he was
that's
saying
what I'm hearing when I heard him say that. That's what I'm hearing.
That's what I'm saying. You got defensive, and I felt that Student X got defensive. But when he explained it, then Student X actually agreed with what he's talking about. And we're just talking. He was just talking about, not me. He was just talking about just the boots on the ground manager, you know what I'm saying, that has this direct, observation connection to this type of situation. So fathers are raising. If you're in the household, you're raising that kid, especially when they talk shit to the mother and don't talk shit to you, you're raising that motherfucking kid. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it is.
You're doing something. You're playing a role. But I'm saying, like, when you look at societies, and I'm just saying, when you look at societies, just saying in general, like you can look at in third world countries, the women are doing most of the work. Like even the water girls, they're doing all the domestic labor. They're doing all of that shit. Dudes are not doing that work. Just think about a holiday get together. Who primarily organizes that?
Generally speaking,
what's the point of saying that?
The point of saying that is that the person who has that much closeness and interaction with the kid should have a voice at the table because their perspective is going to be different.
I wasn't quite saying that. Yeah, should have a voice.
Voice at the table because their perspective.
We need to listen to those people. Like it can be men, it can be vice versa. But if men are primarily raising the kids, when they their position when they go to the polls and vote, they're thinking about things that will benefit the kids more because they're living and they're interacting with it. They're looking at the medical insurance and figure like this shit don't work. They're making the appointments. They know about the community services, the free things that they can get access to because they're dealing with the kids on a day-to-day. So that's why I'm saying we need to listen to those people. They happen to be black women. That's all I'm saying.
Voice at a seat at the table. It doesn't mean that you just take whatever they say.
It just sounds weird because to me it's just like I listen to knowledgeable people. You know what I mean? You know that it has information that's relevant. You know what I mean? Whether they're black, white,
that's like it sounds weird. That's what I'm saying.
It sounds well. Again, both of y'all hate women.
Hold on.
I'm
name
saying
Can you name? Do you name 5 YouTube channels that you listen to regularly that are hosted by women?
Candace Owens.
No,
Candace Owens is one.
No,
that's true. That's true. I listen to Candace Owens. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I don't like her, but
now you said
I
like her. No, let me say this. I don't like her. I like that she's attacking Israel and she's not supporting Trump right now. So tomorrow might be this. She might switch back and attack black people again. So right now, I like the direction.
I accidentally did that earlier, Floyd. How do you mark the video? How do you
what?
How do you mark the moment or whatever? Don't worry about it.
Okay.
A minute 45, whatever. Oh yeah, I'm chopping that.
I listen to Savvy Sav. I listen to her. I listen to Messy Michonne, Lakeisha, and there's one more. She come up every once in a while, but I listen to women if I could tolerate and pay attention.
Those are all black women.
All black.
So you got 4 of them. He's only one away.
That's too.
Who?
This is a
what's the name? Reba TV.
So he does it. So
Reba TV.
We're telling what you should
Reba
do, and you
TV.
already do it. So why are you complaining?
Reba TV.
No, because like I said, it sounds weird, bro. Because it's like if someone's like, man, you should listen to white men or listen to white women or listen to black men. You know what I mean? It's like
honestly, I feel like hey, Mr. Stu Next, if I'm making a decision that impacts more, whatever, I think I should listen to a white man. I think this is why I've always said Charlie Kirk. I think that he was a devil. I think he was a bad human being. But I think he made important arguments for white people because white people do have legitimate interests. And I do feel he was a strong advocate for legitimate white issues. And I think he was a powerful voice for legitimate white issues. So because of that, I'm saying that he served an important purpose for white people. So that's why I'm saying that I think it's important for me to listen to Charlie Kirk. You know what I'm saying? So that's why when he was killed, I didn't celebrate it. I actually felt bad about it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. I think it's important for me to listen. I think it's important to listen to conspiracy people. I may not think too much about whatever, but I'm just saying.
Speaking of which, I'm not seeing any yet. You know, it's not to say it's not true, but I'm not seeing enough intel from any of my sources to confirm Ayatollah Khomeini is no longer present among us yet. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm saying, but it's being reported.
I'm seeing a lot of footage of targets in Iran as well as Qatar and throughout that area getting hit hard. Though I'm seeing a lot of footage of that for sure. But
we'll see how this plays out. But I thank you for that breaking news. I'm assuming that was that you that put that up there, Mr. Fodex, or was that El Poo? Because this
But what I'm saying too is kind of like listening to. I remember the sister Kikuyu. She was a part of the Black Panther Party, but she became disabled from San Francisco. And she opened my eyes to like the discrimination against disabled people. I was not aware of it, but she's keenly aware of it because why? She's disabled. So she had to deal with it a lot. And Bell Hooks talks about intersectionality, a real thinker. And because black women, this is why I repeat, the reason we should listen to black women just in general, because they are at the intersection of racism and sexism together. So they have a unique position that, and that's why they're right when it comes to Trump, when it comes to Doge, when it comes to their views on the 2020 election. We should go with their views because
you still told me where they were right on that question.
Huh?
You still never told me. That's funny, matriarch one. But you never told me like where they were right now. Right in the
I do both sides, man. I do both sides.
They was right when it came
what
to,
he say?
I'm
Say what he
saying,
mean?
they were right when it came to Trump. For instance, they right away, they or actually we can say they were right when it came to the Democratic Party. The motive, their reason for not voting Trump, because if Trump would have ran for the Democratic Party, they possibly would have voted for Trump. But they were right as far as this notion that Trump is smart. This was a popular notion amongst conservatives, amongst the people that you listen to. The notion that Trump is going to bring about greater justice and equality. He's going to bring about this new age. They were advocating that. Black women were against that. The idea that Trump is racist, that's coming from black people. The idea that he's a fascist, that's coming from
as black people about racism. I would say black people in general, not just black women, felt that Trump has some racist tendencies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but black women felt he even had more. So I'm saying, so you listen to black people in general, but black people, black women
at the end of the day, for agnostics, I feel like he listens. He basically gave you an example that he actually does. So he may think it's funny to say, but I'm just saying that some people don't. And I honestly, all you guys listen to more black women than I do personally. So therefore, I should listen to black women more. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I do.
But hold on. But you listen to them 24 hours at the crib.
That's true. So,
but honestly, you get a lot of direct things just through what they're watching. They're watching different things. Sometimes you'll come down and watch what they watch, and she explain it to you.
I want to make a real honest observation.
Yeah,
I grew up. I don't know. Let's just say I was a person that felt that I was kind of a champion for women up until something that happened in my life that changed that. And pretty much I was an anti-woman champion. Like I remember one of my dudes who's the most chauvinist mother effer, whatever. And I remember I was like, here he goes with this. And he went on a rant and it just hit me at the right time. And I was like a convert, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying that I was just definitely of a position like, men need to do men stuff. Women need to do women stuff. Women just, they're not on that level. But it wasn't until I started like getting on Facebook and really interacting with a whole bunch of women, because I just wasn't, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't until I went, and it's like a lot of these people that I went to school with, in school, they might have just been, that cute chick or whatever, something like that. But then you interact with them on Facebook and you see all this personality and all this thought process and all this other stuff. But I'm just saying that it's been a great social experiment for me to interact with all these different people that I didn't otherwise interact with. One of my college professors in college was gay. This was the first gay person that I was interacting with that wasn't just flamboyant gay or stuff like that. But this dude was like on some revolutionary type stuff, Cuban refugee type stuff, whatever. And it gave me a completely different perspective. And I'm just saying that sometimes other people, they need a seat at the table, whether you agree with them or not, just because they will address things that you have in commonality, things that you should be sensitive to, things that you don't necessarily
what you're trying to build.
It depends, but I'm just saying that the bottom line is they should have a seat at the table for you to hear it, not just for you to do whatever they want or do whatever they say or stuff like that, but to have a seat at the table to hear their perspective, because their perspective is different. A lot of females,
and it matters.
A lot of females that I've interacted with on an intimate level, and I don't mean intimate like sex. I'm just saying that where they drop their guard and they have a real personal conversation with me. It's amazing how many of them tell me that they were raped, sexually assaulted. And it's just they're not reporting it. They're not whatever, you know what I'm saying? So when you hear people talking about but my point is that some people be like, how come you didn't say nothing about it? And I'm telling you, they still ain't saying nothing about it.
Or they lying, they just trying to get the bag. But
you know what I'm saying? That's what people say. I'm just saying.
But we know for a fact in the black community, that there many of our women and many of our boys, have been sexually abused,
Boys, you're right, boys, and it's not boys just by females; it's boys by men. Because Dave Chappelle,
vice versa, both.
I know that.
Oh, tell that one. That's one of the best. Dave Chappelle. Go ahead. I was gonna
say, because I'm just telling you, I know that Afro-agnostics don't like Dave Chappelle. I'm diehard Dave Chappelle. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, he was talking about it. He was basically saying to the fact of how people are talking about how they've been sexually assaulted, and then he goes like, if I'm a man and I was sexually assaulted by another man, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna just have to put that shit in the vault. Like you ain't gonna never hear about that shit. You ain't never, you know what I'm saying? I'm just have to take that L, you know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna be honest with you, just my mindset as well. I'm probably not putting that out there like that either. You know what I'm saying? It's just like
he said, there was a rapist in D.C. he was a male rapist. He said they found he was a serial male rapist. He had, I think, raped like 7 men or something like that. And then Dave Chappelle, he said, "Can you imagine how many men he really raped?" It's probably like 100.
Because he said, "Nigga, I'm taking that to the grave."
And this is the big fear that men have. One of the biggest concerns that we have as far as going to prison. But the rate of rape outside of prison for women is higher than the rate of rape for men in prison.
Hell, the rape of women inside the military ranks is higher than what it is in general population.
In college too. So concerns around that are issues that women are going to be more concerned. They're going to bring up and stuff like that.
Sure.
So we think when we look at the civil rights movement, for instance, we think that we have this image of men, leadership and doing this, but that was by excluding women. It wasn't like a natural emergence of men. But you got to read the actual works by women that were involved, because they're talking against sexism. When you look at the March on Washington, the Mall, there were no women speakers outside of Mahalia Jackson. That was a concern. Ella Baker started SNCC. She put it together. SCLC didn't, but she didn't get credit. They didn't give her no position in SCLC. It was, because of sexism. Assata Shakur, the Black Panther Party, is an issue, but you don't hear that issue being voiced from the right at all. They don't even think it's an issue. So that influence.
There's no doubt. I just this about Black women.
From the very beginning, from 2016.
Yeah, no, but there's no doubt, bro, that in terms of what Black women represent, bruh, I like, man, it means so much to, I would say, obviously us as a Black community, but even greater than that, I think it's significant. And that's why, we constantly see a lot of attacks on Black women, not just based on sexual abuse and things of this nature, but just even the ideology that's been promoted to our sisters. I think our sisters are, in a lot firmer, stronger position, and not with today's ideology that's being accepted, but, going back. Going back. He's trying to be funny. But real quick, El Poo. I saw El Poo put something on there. And then it makes sense that those outlets
do you think Kevin Samuels attacked Black women? Do you believe that? Because a lot of people do.
I learned that when you type a post, it gives you, basically it says it came from the Focus Up show, it came from this other stuff. Mm-hmm. So basically I just selected the one that said Mr. Floyd X and made it seem like he did that. So yeah.
Oh.
That ain't me. That ain't me.
It does it like this. It's basically a post. It's like whatever. So y'all just being funny. He did.
Hold on. Yeah. So Floyd X is here. So Student X just talked about how Black women.
I want to hear him answer your question. The question was about to ask.
It's for you too.
You know my answer. You haven't proved it.
Okay.
Well, what was the question?
Do you believe KS attacked Black women?
Kevin Samuels.
Nah, man, I wouldn't call that attack. I wouldn't call it attack at all. It's one thing to be critique, and there's another to just outright attack, and there's a lot of good that Kevin Samuels was doing for the Black women community, and I think he was steering Black women in the right trajectory. And I think that's ultimately probably why he got killed.
Steering like cows. But let me ask you this real quick. So who did he primarily, this is before X too. You say he wasn't attacking Black women, just critiquing Black women. So in his video essays, whatever he would do, who did he primarily critique?
Women. Not Black women, women.
Yeah, but what were the women on the show that he critiqued, pretty much? What was
whoever called in?
Yeah, all type of women.
Whoever called in.
I've watched so much Kevin Samuels.
It doesn't matter.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
It doesn't matter Black women, Puerto Rican women, but you agree that his
white women, everybody.
His primary critique was towards women.
Yeah, women.
He definitely changed. He changed. Actually, I would say his critique, he shifted it. It's weird because first he used to be on men really hard.
Let him explain. Let him explain.
Men really hard, bro. He used to go hard on brothers and dudes in general, and then he had this conversation with this woman, and it went viral, and he realized, what the mission was, and that was, to bring some of these inconsistencies to the light, and then that would grow, the channel, and it did, but and when he was doing it, what he primarily focused on was really what he called the dating market, and then so what really blew up was he used to ask women to rate themselves. Now if you hear somebody else tell you he was rating women, no, he never rated women. He would say, rate yourself 1 through 10, can't use 7. What do you rate yourself as?
I'm familiar with his methods and what he did.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying, the primary target of his rating yourself, his methods of criticism were, as you just admitted, women. Now, prior to
I would
that,
say his primary target, those are who responded, who started coming on and who started seeking counsel, advice, and whatnot, and then that's what it ended up starting being, and then it just evolved into that. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, but women were coming on his show asking guidance and asking, putting their advice and situation out there, and seeing what he had to say. And that's what's so beautiful about it.
So all you're saying is just, it ended up that way. It wasn't always that way, but
it was just happening.
Alpha agnostics is basically addressing the fact that it got there, not how it got there.
Yeah. So I think, well, I don't think he critiqued men as hard as he went exclusively on women after.
No, in the beginning.
I agree. So I think the critique of men talking to men, that didn't really work for men. The critique of women talking to men, that really worked. That grew his channel. Would you agree?
Let me explain that.
Yeah, definitely.
Let me explain that.
Okay. So
I'm getting to see what before you gotta say, because there's an explanation for it. But since he's explaining it,
talking to men, if you talk to a man, most likely, if a man ain't about shit, he gonna be like, yeah, I ain't shit. I'm just playing these women. If that's what he do. But for some reason, there's a tinge of dishonesty with the women when they speaking. They don't recognize their faults. That's what it is. It's probably a lack of recognition, not dishonesty, a lack of recognition. Like, I'm the problem. I'm the problem. I got 2 baby daddies. Maybe something wrong with me letting them in. A man could have them and go on, and he gonna be. It's different than from when a woman.
Agnostics. I think that men probably see their faults more clearly than females see their faults.
Yeah.
I think that's not a. I don't think that's a stretch for someone to take that
sexual marketplace comes in play too.
Well, I'm just saying. I don't think that's a stretch to take that position. I can't tell you that's the truth because I've only experienced very few of the females in the whole.
So say for instance, that would imply that women are less able to self-examine themselves. They're less able to self-reflection.
or they just see themselves. You can take it negative, but for example, Mr. Nice Guy sees colors. Mr. Nice Guy sees colors.
This is a yes or no question. Women are less reflective than men.
They're not truthful to each other.
Well, wait. You calling them a liar? I'm saying they may be oblivious. This is something different because
they're more oblivious.
I like that.
This is manosphere shit. This is just, I'm saying there's no evidence.
Wait. Oh, you done messed up, Afro-agnostic. You done messed up because now I got to give you a concrete example, okay? I've given this example many times. But listen. Let me give you this, okay? So I'm just saying that, okay, so my father's an attorney, okay? He was an arbitrator. Sometimes the state bar asked, attorneys, could you arbitrate this, whatever, such and such. So he's been an arbitrator for a divorce type situation. It's a husband and wife, whatever the situation it was. So they're represented. They each have their own attorneys. They have the husband and the wife, and they were fine. They were observing them, and they just had different concepts of what was going on. So then my father or whatever goes like, hold on a second, I need to do a test and experience. I want you to say a sentence to the husband. You say a sentence to the woman, or no, he said the woman. You say a sentence to the man, and he says it, and he goes, now I want you to tell me what she said. And he would tell him exactly what she said. Then he goes, okay, now he did the reverse. And she just basically came up with something different. And I'm not saying that women are incapable of this. I'm just saying that there may be an inherent dynamic where it's just like, they always talk about men from men from Mars, women from Venus. It's not necessarily a put down of women. It's not necessarily a deficiency. It's just a difference. I don't see the colors that you just see because I don't have the rods or the cones that you see. So I'm red-green colorblind. It doesn't mean that I'm bad or that whatever, but you can call it a defective, but it's a variation. It's a mutation. You know what I'm saying? Just like my face blindness. But it's pushed me to be very more cognitive in other ways that other people wouldn't be. So it's basically, in a sense, giving me a superpower, whereas, that may be a limitation. So I'm just saying that women have a compassion superpower, but there is something to be said about a self-assessment.
There are differences. Wow. So there are differences between individuals,
of course,
within the same sex and across sex. But in general, that's what I'm saying, that you're going off of anecdotal evidence, off of personal experience.
It's anecdotal, but I'm just saying
that I'm saying, so we shouldn't promote that there is this difference between the sexes.
There are a difference between sexes. One piece sitting down, one piece standing up. I mean, you understand the sexes are different, right?
And the psychological differences too.
Are there things that women can do better?
How do you use the bathroom is socially constructed, but I'm saying because some countries men.
Yeah, I know, but
let me just say real quick. Yeah, I'm just saying.
Are the things women do better than men?
I'm not discounting differences. There are differences. But what I'm saying is that there is no difference in the ability to do self-reflection, to do assessment. There is no evidence to support that difference. So you should not do that.
I don't know if you can say that. It may be not definitive.
Because people like Kevin Samuels and others can use this to target Black women because they know it will go viral, and to justify the targeting, which to me, targeting means attack. Because I'm looking at a specific demographic. Every demographic is worthy of criticism.
Hey,
Why am I going after
Afro-agnostics, are you a pretty dude?
Pretty boy Floyd?
Whatever. Are you a pretty dude?
No, I don't.
Yeah,
think so.
I have no concept of what I look like to a female. I have no whatever. I'm not, and obviously if you get some type of attention, it'll make you feel some type of way. But I have no concept of that. But
Okay.
My ability to assess a female is completely different. I'm just saying that again. I'm not going to tell you what. I actually gave you a disclaimer beforehand that I've only met so many people on the planet. But I'm just saying that there's a recurring theme that women tend to see other women differently than men tend to see women, and I think it's fundamentally tied to the fact that they're men and they're women, and that you tend to see things how you tend to see things. Now, again, it's not a binding and it's not discriminating. It's not a hateful thing to say that this happens. It's not a bad thing to say that someone has a penis and someone has a vagina. It's just a statement of what is. But I'm just saying that I talk to females all the time, and they'll just be like, oh, they're so self-doubt about how they look and all this other stuff. And I'm like, dude, all my guy friends would think you're fine. And this is like, we need to figure this out like in a second. You know what I'm saying? This is something you're struggling with, but I'm just telling you, spoiler alert, you're a bad mother effer. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that,
I'm saying, but that's a particular thing. Like women do have probably more insecurities around beauty because
so you're saying that women are deficient or that they're bad?
If you look
you
at
hate women?
No, if you look at the beauty magazines, which are primarily, owned, by men, those things are when they see these beautiful women on these covers and they're great, all that stuff that makes them, that lowers their self-esteem. I get that. But I'm talking about just self-assessment, the ability to do self-reflection, to see one's own flaws and shortcomings. I'm saying that's about
women do that less is great than men do.
So you think that women who nag see they have a full concept of their nagnosity?
Nagnosity.
I think you have naggers, that things get classified as nagging based on gender. Again, a lot of the things you brought up a good point before. A lot of people think women are messy and women, involve themselves in a lot of messy stuff. But if you go to a men's barbershop when it's just men, or to a locker room,
you just jump right in.
You're doing the same thing. So what I'm saying is that they're equal between men and women. They're equal in that regard, self-reflection. But yet Kevin Samuels is specifically targeting this group as if they're the problem. And if they're not the problem, why are you only critiquing this group? That's
he's critiquing a group of a particular type of females. If you were a high value woman that met his criteria, do you think he have a criticism for them still?
No, we can do the same thing with men. You can attack a certain type of men,
Yeah, but that's his nut. He said before.
He never was attacking anyone. People were calling into his show, requesting to speak to him.
Hold on.
You missing his mission. You missing his mission.
You told me what his mission was.
Hold up.
Yeah.
He was attacking a certain type of female. He was like rude and an asshole about he was.
No,
certain
he was
types of females. And I'm not saying that they didn't deserve to be attacked. I'm not making that argument. I'm just saying that those people he was going after.
That type of no. That type of women are not even important to go after. Like, so if, for instance, if that type of woman is not the most type of women, then why even go after them? The underlying assumption is that many women think and act in this way, and that this acting this way is a problem.
Let me break it down.
Enough a problem for me to go after these type of women. Things that black men are doing, or men, there's nothing that they're doing that I need to go after.
Let me break it down.
It's already been broken.
No, but listen, if his mission is to create black relationships, get black women with black men, let's say if that's the target, and you see that, okay, the reason they're not getting together is because black women are going for the same 1% of men. They are. Wait, no, let me finish. Let me finish. I'm gonna listen to you. I'm gonna listen to you, but let me finish this point. Let me finish this point. If you know that most women, let's say it's 10 women, 10 men, and 9 women want one of them men because he's the high value, he's the tall, he makes the most money, so they are not even looking at the other 9 men. That's not conducive to building relationship. So what he has to do is say, listen, women, all of y'all are not gonna get that man, that 1%, that one man out of 10. He is looking for the prettiest one and the one that's best for his fit. And he can only pick one unless he pick one and have all of y'all, but all those other men gonna miss out. And it's not conducive. It's not gonna build a relationship and build a community. So listen, ladies, not settle, but recognize that you're average.
You sound like MAGA making excuses for Trump.
No,
I'm explaining it. That's what it is.
That's how he broke it down.
Average women want he needs to make $200,000 a year.
Floyd X.
He needs to make $200,000. How many men do you know that make $200,000 a year?
Mr. Floyd X. The objective. Wait. Before you do, the objective deconstruction of that position, of the real position, is that look, he's targeting an audience. This is the audience that's going to get him the most whatever. So look, you can't save everybody. Look, a podiatrist is a specialist on feet. You know what I'm saying? A gynecologist is a specialist on feet or whatever. He's focusing on something that, he's focusing on something particular. And I'm not making him Robin Hood or whatever like that.
He brought up that his mission was to,
unite.
save or to
black
bring
love.
Black love. Yes.
Black love. And his target is black women because what you said is that black women, their aspirations, the way they seek a spouse is
looking at one man.
Okay. So you've in fact said that black women, the way they think, the way they move, is the cause for the black family not being as strong as it should be.
Wait, who said that? When did I say that?
Because if you're saying that because black women aspire a high value man, that is the reason why. That's the cause of the problem. Because if not, why are you
aside or rejecting the average man? The other 9, wait, listen, if they rejecting the other 9, they're not, as a community, we're not going to make headway.
You can explain it. I want to hear that explanation because it's false too. But even if you didn't explain it that way, you're just acknowledge that you're targeting black women and their views as the cause of why the black family is not together as strong as it should be, correct?
Targeting the problem. And the problem isn't black women; it's them not accepting average men.
They're not doing.
But you know what?
He's telling you the perspective of what Kevin Samuel was doing.
The black family could be stronger if it was because of something that Black women are doing or not doing, correct?
See, I mean, when you're saying it, like the way you're saying it is not correct.
I mean, but basically that was the implication. That was the implication. You know what I mean? Is that it's sisters, y'all tripping. You know what I mean? Y'all all want the same man.
Yeah.
It's not enough of those men. And then
wasted time.
I'm glad y'all said that.
But that wasn't all sisters. But that wasn't all
I'm glad
sisters.
you at least acknowledged that premise.
But that wasn't all sisters. That was, we talked about that population of 10. That wasn't the total representation of Black women. That was these particular target that he was talking about.
Right, so he was talking about the culture of Black sisters. And tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. We talked about it before. The culture is 6, 6, 6. That is what I need in a man. 6, 6, 6 minimum. You know what I mean?
Now,
and
do y'all deny that?
Not qualified to be, one worthy of me.
Hey, dude, you can't say that. You can't say that without explaining it. You can't. Go ahead and tell us what the 6 stands for. That's hilarious.
6 figures, 6 feet tall, and at least 6 inches. You know what I mean? That's a minimum criteria. The minimum criteria is 666. You know what I mean? And so the thing is that Kevin was like, look,
when they say he's a beast, that's what they're talking about.
You know what I'm saying? Especially all three simultaneously. You know what I'm saying? So we got a problem here. How are we gonna have a strong Black community and Black family?
You know what, man? I think the patriarchy
let me
is
just
starting to
fail
fall.
that really quick. So
losing me. No, I'm just kidding.
For the record,
listen to this right here. So again, that's based on the erroneous and false notion that this is what women aspire to do, as opposed to just really looking what Black women in particular, what do they actually do?
Right.
Statistically,
right. I know you're messing with sisters, bro.
Black women.
Do you watch
I know
NVG?
you had your fair share of interaction with sisters, brother.
Now
You trying to tell me sisters not looking for those things?
Some are, but go ahead, finish your
The
statement.
majority. You know what I mean?
You should say the majority. You shouldn't say the
Let
majority.
him finish.
First of all, let me just say what they do, and then juxtapose that with
what they do. Who's they?
So women, Black women,
Okay.
Black women. So with Black women,
Black women.
Statistics. I'm speaking of statistics of what they do, according to statistics. Majority of Black women marry equal or marry down in terms of economics.
What does that mean?
Okay, they marry a man that is making equal income to what they have or less income than what they have. So
you
this
said
whole
Black women. Who does it?
Black women.
Black women tend to marry down.
Black women tend to marry. First of all, Black women tend to marry Black men at higher rates than Black men marry Black women. So first of all, just take they tend to be more loyal to Black men than vice versa. Then secondly, they tend to marry Black men who make equal income, more or less, as what they make, or less income than what they make.
Pookie Ray Ray know all about it. You know what I mean? I
see, you putting down men that made a male spouse.
No, I'm calling like what Kevin Samuels was addressing this.
It's just a difference in income. That's all I'm saying. So the whole notion that Black women are striving to marry men with 6 figures, 200, it doesn't compute with the
highest divorce rates.
So if two people fresh out of college, how one making more than the other? What are you talking about?
Black women are graduating college at higher rates than Black men.
You said statistically.
A lot of times when you graduate from college, you tend to make higher money, have better benefits. So since Black women are doing that more than Black men, they tend to they're marrying Black men who don't have a college education and make less money. So I'm saying, so this is what Black women are actually doing. They're marrying equal, or they're marrying down in terms of income, which is contradictory to the claims that you say Kevin Samuels. The whole basis of this thing is that women are striving. They're messing up the family.
Well, no, it is because it is when you say that that's the population of Black women. Your salvation was what I tried to give you by saying that that's a segment of Black women. So I'm just saying that those are who he was addressing, because those were the crazy enough efforts to call in.
But now the other thing is that you're going by a fringe group of demographic. We can also get a fringe group of black men. Like everyone has these fringe groups with these
But in marketing,
why
you
are
look
we
for
targeting black women?
Bro.
he's targeting he's targeting a
Because
market
there's
that
no
made him
group
a
of women
household
now
name.
only
He
married.
targeted a market. He
27 to
targeted
32%
a market that made him a household name.
I know.
This is fundamental business.
The
He said it. He predicted it before, where he said, "I could do this,
attacking
and
black
this would happen."
women, yeah, will make you money because there's already a market. The manosphere
But
market.
I want to repeat
That's
that
what
he's
they
not
do.
attacking all black women. He's attacking a
Attacking
particular.
women.
He's attacking a particular type of woman, and by
Dude,
your
that's
listen, and by
1980s
it is.
gentrification.
Wait, listen, and
Dudes
by
are
your
called
and by
women
your
bitches.
example,
I don't mean all women.
Afro-Nazi,
That's old, man.
you just proved that wasn't most black women. So therefore, by definition, he wasn't targeting most black women. He was targeting a segment of black women. The black women that needed to be targeted because they were ill.
Does that apply to all black people or just 50 Cent?
What do you say?
If they say, man, 50 Cent's a nigger, is that attacking all black people or just 50 Cent? A white man?
If a black person is saying that, then he's probably attacking. White men. It's put it this way. It's an assault on all people. You're right.
Because he's not a part of that group. So I'm saying when
he's not a part of that
Samuels,
group.
I don't know. I would disagree with that.
He's not.
White persons can't say nigga. You don't got white people don't got. I don't care.
I didn't say they can say nigga, but I can say
that's the problem.
He may not be trying to. They was thinking like that.
He may not be trying to. He may not be trying.
This is sexism 101,
for those that haven't
bro.
been around, I know. So when I was growing up, I was like sometimes the only brother around, and so I don't know if you guys never been in that role. You maybe I had this experience.
It's okay, bro.
You know what I'm saying? You could. I had a wife, for example, more than one time be like, "Oh man, it was still offensive," and I started to check people, and it's still sometimes I knock somebody out.
Point.
But hey, that person over there, that's a nigga. He's not like you, Charles. You know what I'm saying?
It's still offensive.
I mean, but because in their mind, they have a image and a way of behavior and action that they're associating with that. You know what I mean?
We're not talking about intentions.
It is not being given to a whole group or clique, type of deal.
We're not talking about
intentions. With me. Say again.
We're not talking about intentions. We're not talking about what they mean to do. We're talking about what their action objectively does. It's objectively offensive. So we're just saying that. Look,
he said, "What's up to my bitches?" And then the next line he said, "What's up to my real women? Real niggas know the difference." And that's like a mantra that's kind of prevalent in the culture. But the thing is, niggas don't know the difference. Nobody's walking around. There is no difference. It's a conflation of it's a stereotype that's characterized and put on women. Everyone has groups that have, disillusions within the group. But, when you go after them, you're saying that this thing is so important, it's so prevalent that it must be influencing this group. But if not, why target that group? Why you have an 2-hour show and you're targeting
he told you what it was.
Group.
Black love, United Black, people.
That's not an issue
right now.
It's not an issue for Black love. If that's not the.
Wait a minute. Right now, 27 to 33% of Black women are married.
That's crazy.
Compared to 50% of all the rest of American women, you know what I mean?
Crazy.
Yeah, but some women don't want to be married.
So we get that going right there.
And then we don't want to be married.
Parent households.
So what does that mean to you?
25% of Black households, are maintained by a woman without a spouse, is that a single parent household? 25%.
Black children are missing out going in a 2-parent household.
They're white and
but the presumption can't be made that that's Black women's fault.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What does that do?
Presumption cannot be made. That's wrong. You cannot put that on Black women if that's the case.
That's what I'm saying. But Kevin
said,
why are you going after this one group to solve that problem?
Because here's what Kevin Samuels would say. He said because women choose who they have sex with and men choose who they marry.
That's right.
You understand that? That's why women are making bad choices with their sexual partners, you know what I mean? And then that is the dynamic we're looking at. Because ultimately, that's where it lies at. I mean, people get mad at Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He said 75% of the challenges inside the Black community started with the woman.
Yep.
75% of the challenges. You know what I mean?
Well,
He wasn't just blaming women. You know what I mean? But like I said, this dynamic we're talking about right here.
You know why he said that?
Women,
you know why he said that?
Who you open your legs up
you know why he
to
said that?
and
You know why he said that?
interact with. You know what I mean? That's the problem. You know what I mean?
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad
Cookie and Ray Ray, yeah, they make way less than you.
He
Why would you
said
mess with
that
Cookie and Ray Ray?
because women raise children 75% of the time. All right, so thank you for watching, and hey, I got back to one of your points.
We love you. Yeah, but look, you gotta keep it real, man. We need to,
Look, man,
this community. You know what I mean?
You have sex, like in a case where Elijah Muhammad having sex with minors, there was not consent. They didn't choose. You know
white supremacists.
What?
White supremacists.
You brought up Elijah Muhammad. You know what you mean? That he didn't have sex with minors?
The people that Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the women that Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad has sex with,
girls.
you know, he procreated with and married, and then helped to maintain, take care of several of those family members from these wives.
He had child rights.
Yeah, nation afloat. And were it not for those other relationships, the nation would have fallen.
Yeah, he wanted to spread his seed. Come here, little 15. Yeah, I want to spread my seed for the nation.
That's in the Western. That's in the Western, in the secular mind. You know what I mean? That's that right there. But no,
I agree. Student X is corrected. That perspective is a Western perspective. However, he's skipping over the fact that Elijah Muhammad was the one that was banging on the table promoting that Western perspective. He was the one that was telling you that it should be a certain way before he realized and embraced the fact that, hey, you wouldn't be having this issue if you embraced a more Eastern perspective on this whole situation. So that was an evolution on his part. That was not what he was arguing or preaching or whatever saying in the beginning. So there was a reason why those women were going through.
Man,
first of all, let's say that we're gonna say that goes way beyond
nation shows too juicy right here.
Let's get off the minors. Did they not or not? Did they work for him? Were they not his secretaries?
I believe some of them were.
Every last one. I'm sure that as is most often is people who you're closer to, that's who you get a chance to know and interact with and whatnot. But like I said, in the way the nation works, that's not how it goes. In the nation, it is a courting process. So then,
There's video of him denying that they even existed. He denied that he even had these kids. His own kids, he denied them. Didn't even.
Again, don't you talk about nothing about the Honorable Elijah, Mr.
They're your subordinates. They're your employees. You have sex with your employees.
That's a Western perspective and all that.
What if your employer white, Afro-agnostics? But anyway,
a wife having concubines.
Well, my point is that it's not an objective.
This is how you know that he was legitimate. Is that if you're just having sex with girls, are you trying to produce offspring? If that's what it's all about, are you trying to make a family, create offspring?
He wasn't trying to do that. He wasn't trying to do that.
You know what I mean? And that's what he did. He created families, and then raised those families. Some of those families he put in Mexico. You know what I mean? Abroad, and they would play instrumental key roles in the and the resurrection of the Nation of Islam.
He's a
wise man.
He did great things for us in this country. There's no question about that. He made the world a better place, but he did terrible things too. Let's not pretend like that didn't happen. Two things can happen. Like you talked about before, how two things can happen at the same time.
I haven't been introduced to one terrible thing that I've seen.
Because you're turning a blind eye to
I was trying to punch holes. When I came into the nation, please, every moment I was looking at, I was like, man, how can
y'all need to just have a show about it. Let's have a more organized show about it.
Yes, right now. So salute to the Nation of Islam. Salute to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I appreciate the things. I can still hold folks accountable.
Shout out to the Zulu Nation. I still love the Zulu Nation. Great.
Notwithstanding
great.
that,
Happy Savior's Day to all my Muslim family. Happy Savior's Day.
I love R. Kelly's music too. It's still good.
Hey, he has some bangers. I don't bump him anymore though.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was banging, but anyways, let's end the show. I appreciate you all participating. Thank you for Mr. Poetics for jumping in. El Pooh, thank you for breaking that terrible news. Because boy,
no. We haven't confirmed that. We haven't confirmed that yet.
But
he did report. It was
just
from
says,
Fox News.
I just said it.
CNN says Israel has said that he's dead. Israel.
I have no credible at all. My intelligence sources that confirm that.
It's news that is being reported. I'm not telling you.
It's on a bunch of different.
Mainstream media, they lie all the time. I'm not convinced yet.
And I finished wrapping it up, my brother. 65250. Can I finish wrapping up what I'm trying to say?
We got to set the record, bro. 2 hours, 30 minutes. 2 hours, 30 minutes. We set the record, y'all. We did it.
What I'm saying that it's the news, whether it's true or not. I'm not talking about it, but it's terrible what's being reported. And I'm just saying that I don't know about that. And I'm just saying that I may have to eat my words about the impact it has on this country. So I was trying to give you props, Mr. Student X, while you're jumping all over what I was trying to say. But that having been said, thank you guys for participating. Thank you for a very spirited show and for all the comments. And again, I apologize, YouTube. That was me. That comment got flagged. You know what I'm saying? I was trying to make it funny. So that's why I put it out there. But again, Mr. Floyd X loves Black women. And thank you for watching the show. Appreciate it.